Izuku kicked his legs as green electricity sparked around his whole body. He and his mother were currently with the scientist that will tell him about what his quirk is. Unlike Kaken, who got his at the age of 4 like everybody else, Izuku's had awakened at the age of 5, a year after quirks manifest in children. He was teased at school mercilessly for not having a quirk and was called quirkless by the other kids, including his former best friend Kaken, but that all changed on his 5th birthday. He woke up and saw the stuff in his room was moved closer to him, and his fingers sparked with green electricity. Also, the papers in his room moved around too, but he didn't know why. He busted out of his room and showed his mom, who immediately took him back to the quirk scientist and proceeded to yell at him for lying about him not having a quirk. The poor man was shaking and decided to test Izuku again. So here they are now, just waiting for the results. Incredible, the man breathed out. Izuku stopped kicking his legs when the scientist said that. What was his quirk that made the scientist say incredible? It must be good, hopefully. What's wrong? Inko asked. He turned to them with a cough. Forgive me, but instead of your son having a quirk, it's something else. What do you mean? Is it dangerous? She asked frantically. No, I assure you that what your son has is not dangerous. In fact, it's incredible. He promised her. What is it? Are you familiar with the term, Esper? Midoriya-san? He asked. Esper, are you saying that my son is Dash? Indeed I am. He confirmed. Your son is the very first Esper user to walk amongst quirk users. Inko covered her mouth with both hands. Her son was an Esper, just like. I'm sorry to ask this, but does your family have a history of Esper users? He asked suddenly. Why yes, my grandmother was Esper and my mother is one, too. Inko confirmed. I remember a long time ago my mother told me that the Midoriyas come from a long line of Esper users, but my generation was skipped. I see. He wrote that information down. And does it have a history of manifesting late or early? She thought about it. The Midoriya family line has always been girls, and their powers came at the age of 4, the same time as quirks do. Izuku is the very first boy of our line. Izuku didn't understand what his mom was talking about, but it had to be important because they got so serious all of a sudden. The science man did that thinking pose like the people on the detective show would do sometimes. Here's my theory on that. Since he's the firstborn male of the Midoriya line, that means his Esper abilities are far stronger. He theorized. You really think that? Inko questioned. He went over to the board and wrote something down. I do actually. See, Esper has a different meaning than quirk. Esper translates to ability user, while quirk translates to individuality. Since Espers are believed to be a myth, people will believe that your son's quirks are a form of mutation since he doesn't have a combination of you and your husband's quirks. She breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. I agree. In my professional opinion, it's best that people believe your son has a dual quirk instead of being an Esper. The man told her seriously. Dual quirks are a combination of 2 separate ones, right? She asked just to be sure. Correct. Now as for what your son's Esper abilities are, which I will classify as dual quirks for his own protection, are called electrokinesis and vector manipulation. He wrote down. Electrokinesis and vector manipulation? He put his notepad down and brought a piece of paper closer to Izuku and watched as it stuck to him, making him giggle. Your son has the power to generate and manipulate electricity, he explained. Not only that, but your son might also be able to sense all phenomenon related to his power. He also has his own electric and magnetic field, as well as processing electromagnetic information either subconsciously or unconsciously. Inko gave him a confused look so elaborated. In other words, he's a powerful lightning user. She nodded, and the other one? Now the other one took me by surprise, he admitted. Now on to vector manipulation. This ability has similar properties to particle accelerators that use electromagnetic fields to propel charged particles to nearly light speed. In my opinion, it's more similar to synchrotron, which allows the manipulation of acceleration quantum particles. I believe that your son having this ability might allow scientists to get close in understanding the truth of the universe and the laws that govern it. Inko unconsciously held her son. Are you saying they might try to experiment on my son? That's a definite possibility, which is why it's best no one knows about the true extent of it. He said honestly. Thank you. She thanked the man. "You're welcome," he said. Now his vector manipulation ability is based on vector transformation that allows him to control vectors of magnitude and direction. This also allows him to influence objects that have vectors such as bullets, heat, and electricity. He can also use it offensively and defensively. While Inko was proud that her son turned out to be an Esper, she was worried he might not be able to control his two abilities properly. To prove her point, her son was still letting out little sparks of electricity, but it didn't appear to bothering him all that much. "Can I?" Izuku hesitated a little as he spoke. "Can I still be a hero?" Her heart clenched at his hesitation and frowned at herself for giving up on her son so quickly, instead of supporting him. The scientist smiled at the boy with hopeful eyes. "Yes, you can become a hero." Izuku beamed at him before turning to his mom. "Did you hear that, Mom? I can be a hero." She smiled. "I heard, sweetie. Since you're on holiday, why don't we go and visit Grandma? She's been asking to see you." "Really? We can go see Grandma?" he exclaimed with excitement. "Yes, we can." "Yay." He jumped off the stool, going over to the door. Inko stood up and bowed to the man. "Thank you for telling me everything I needed to know and for keeping it a secret." "You're very welcome, Midoriya-san." He smiled at the woman. The two members of the Midoriya family left with smiles on their faces. One, knowing that he can become a hero after all, and the other knowing her mother would be able to help Izuku in controlling his Esper abilities. Izuku was very happy. He now had a quirk, and not just one, but two quirks. He could finally become what he always wanted, a hero. Now he was going to tell his grandmother the good news. He couldn't wait to see the look on her face when he tells her. "We're here, Izuku," he heard his mother say. Looking out the window, he smiled widely when he recognized the long road that would take them to his grandmother's house. Unable to contain his excitement, he grabbed his mother's hand and practically dragged her off the bus station. "We're here, Mom. We're really here." Izuku letting out tiny sparks of electricity. Inko smiled, noticing the brightness her son always expressed was back and wanted it to stay. The reason it was lost in the first place was because her son was being bullied at school for not having a quirk. Well, in a sense he doesn't, but that's no excuse to bully someone just because they're different. She knew enough about how those who don't have quirks are treated poorly, and some even resort to suicide because they're unable to handle such prejudice. There was no way in hell she was going to let her son go through that. Not anymore. Things will be different this time. This time, she'll be supportive like she should have from the very beginning. Location: Midoriya family house. Inko wasn't surprised her mother was already outside waiting for them with a smile. Her mother's Esper ability was precognition, the ability of future sight. So even if Inko called to let her know, she still would have guessed they were coming. "Bachan." Izuku ran towards the woman, embracing her with a happy smile which she returned. "It's so good to see you, Izuku-chan. How are you doing?" she asked, giving him a warm smile. He gave her an excited grin. "Guess what, Bachan? I went to the doctor today, and he said I can be a hero." "I see. That's wonderful news," she said, rubbing his head gently, making him giggle. Inko then approached. "Mother." "I know. How long is he off school for?" she asked. 2 weeks, Inko told her. The school decided to give the students a 2-week holiday, and I'm glad they did. Inko's mother's eyes grew cold. As am I." Izuku tilted his head slightly at his grandmother's sudden angry expression, but didn't get the chance to ask about it as the door behind them slid open, revealing an elderly man with strong features. I thought I heard the voice of my favorite grandson," he said. Inko sighed. "Father, he's your only grandson. That's why he's my favorite," he stated. "Ji-chan." Izuku hugged the stern man who huffed in amusement and hugged him back. "Izuku, why don't we go in the backyard and let these two talk for a bit?" he suggested. "Okay." Izuku nodded as the two of them walked inside the house, leaving the two women alone to talk. Inko addressed her mother while her son and father did whatever they wanted. "He's not a quirk user." "But he is an Esper," her mother stated. Inko's mother, Midoriya Sarah, was an Esper user along with the other women of their family line. Sarah's Esper ability precognition was highly sought after back in the day when heroes were just starting to be recognized and depended on. She worked with both the police force and heroes to help predict events that would soon happen, and every time she was right. When she got married, however, she decided that was the time to retire. So without a word to those of the police force and heroes she worked alongside with, she disappeared, allowed her whereabouts to remain unknown. Those with quirks that could see into the future were highly sought after, just like those with healing quirks. She will not let her ability be used by anyone, and her husband agreed with her. Her husband, Midoriya Hideshi's quirk ability is known as Arrow, a quirk that allows him to manipulate wind, and it's very powerful. The two of them were made for each other. Yes, I can't give him the training she needs. That's why I brought him here, Inko told her. Sarah gave her daughter an understanding smile. I'll train my grandson to control his powerful abilities, and Inko? Yes. A soft hand touched her cheek and a kind motherly smile was given. You are a great mother, Sarah emphasized. Stop doubting yourself. I didn't raise you to have doubts about your abilities as a parent. Inko sniffled before hugging her mother, crying on her shoulder, and made a promise to never give up on her son, ever again. Izuku was sitting lotus-style, just as his grandfather asked him to. His eyes were closed, and he was trying to visualize the electricity flowing inside and outside of his body. Hence what he was doing now. His grandfather told him that this is very important and that he cannot be impatient. He was starting to feel something course throughout his whole body and slowly, but surely felt a spark build up in his hands. Curious, he opened his eyes and gushed, seeing small green electric balls in the palm of his hands. In his excitement, he turned to his grandfather. Ji-chan, look, I did it. Haicher smiled. That you have. Keep concentrating on it, though. Izuku closed his eyes again and concentrated. Haicher smiled as he heard footsteps. All done with your talk? As a matter of fact we are, Sarah said, sitting down next to him in the meditation room, while Inko sat down on his other side. How's our grandson doing? I'm happy to report he's doing well so far, he reported. What was his other ability? The man said it was called Vector. Inko said. Vector manipulation, a very powerful ability if used properly. But since this is our grandson I'm talking about, I have no doubt he will be able to control it, Haicher said confidently. Funny, I was going to say the same thing. Sarah smiled. Is it that dangerous? Inko questioned. In the wrong hands, or if the individual is unable to control it properly, Sarah explained. I was told that the ability existed but wasn't quite sure if I'd get the chance to see it. Inko sighed. It's a good thing I brought him here after all. I have fond memories of when you were his age, Haicher smiled nostalgically. Always moving things around with your quirk, it was very cute of you. Father, Inko blushed. Sarah giggled at their antics. Bachan, Bachan. She looked over and saw Izuku approach her with his hands generating green electric balls. I made them bigger. So I see. Are you ready to train a lot while you're here, Izuku? Sarah asked. I'll train real hard and become a strong her like Bachan. Izuku smiled. Sarah gave him a smile that was all-knowing. I know you will. 2 weeks later. Izuku spent the whole time at his grandmother's place training. He'd shown vast improvement so quickly, proving he was indeed of Midoriya blood. Their family line held not only strong abilities, but intelligence as well, which will serve Izuku well with his vector ability. The boy was very smart, in fact, proving their point that even at 5 years old Izuku was special. However, as special he may be, Sarah made sure to drill it in him that no matter how powerful and special a person might be, there always be someone better. She also told him bluntly that she didn't want him hanging around Bakugo Katsuki anymore, either. After Izuku told her that he was bullied for being quirkless and who the instigator was, she told him that he was no longer a friend, but a bully. Izuku was about to protest before he stopped, as his grandmother was always right. That, and both his mother and grandfather agreed with her. Izuku was sad that he was losing his friend, but his grandmother told him that he was about to make a new one very soon. Izuku was excited and asked her when he would meet his new friend. Sure enough, on that Friday, Izuku would meet his new friend and create a stronger bond. Izuku was happy to spend the last day at his grandmother's to go somewhere with them. They were currently in Mie Prefecture, which is part of the Kansai region on Honshu Island. He had never been here before and was bouncing on his feet as he walked around with his mother and grandparents, eyeing the many buildings and people. Enjoying yourself? Sarah asked, smiling down at her grandson. Yes, Izuku grinned. Sarah chuckled. Are you hungry? There's a mochi shop right over there. Inko smiled. It's been so long since I had mochi. That it has? Haichur agreed. You would eat the stuff whenever you could. Father. Sarah and Izuku walked inside the mochi shop as the father and daughter continued to tease each other. Izuku saw the mountain of mochi that were on display with wide eyes of astonishment. So many. He stared into the glass window, his hands touching the glass. Another set of hands came up next to his, making him turn to his left. Right next to him was a girl who looked to be about his age with fair skin, big round brown eyes, and shoulder-length brown hair which sports 2 long locks beside her face and a short bob at the back. She also has microbangs which sweep to her left. She was wearing a green shirt with long sleeves, a pink skirt, and brown shoes. Both children stared at each other before smiling with small blushes on their cheeks. Hi, she greeted. Hello, Izuku greeted back. I'm Ochaco Uraraka. Nice to meet you. Ochaco introduced. I'm Midoriya Izuku, and I like your shirt. Izuku complimented. Thanks, I like yours too. Ochaco smiled. Thank you. Do you like mochi, Izuku-kun? Ochaco asked. Izuku blushed. Izuku-kun. Ochaco panicked a little. I'm sorry, was that bad? And no. He shook his head. It's just that. No one's ever called me by my first name before. You're the first. Can I still call you Izuku-kun? Ochaco asked, fidgeting in place. Sure. And can I call you Ochaco? He asked. Yeah. Izuku's smile brightened up even more. Maybe this was the person his grandmother was talking about. The person who will become his new friend. Speaking of said grandmother, she along with Inko, Haichur, and Ochaco's parents were watching Izuku and Ochaco's interaction with a smile. Sarah's prediction was correct when she said Izuku will have a new friend soon, and this girl was who she was talking about. Looks like they hit it off, just as I predicted, she muttered with a smile. Ochaco's mother said. Oh, nothing, dear, just an old woman having one of her private thoughts. Sarah giggled mischievously. Haichur, who heard what his wife said, rolled his eyes. His wife may give prediction, but she was just as predictable herself. The 5 adults talked while Izuku and Ochaco talked to each other about many things they liked, from heroes to food and anything else. My quirk is 0 gravity. Ochaco smiled. 0 gravity. Ochaco decided to demonstrate by touching a chair, allowing it to float. The small pads on the tip of my fingers let anything I touch float just like this. I can lift heavy things too, and it doesn't even bother me because it doesn't have any gravity. Wow, that's amazing, Ochaco. He complimented. I bet you can save a lot of people with your quirk. She blushed. Thanks. Oh, by the way, what's your quirk? He showed her 2 fingers. I have 2. 2. She didn't understand at first, but then got it. You have 2 quirks? Yep. Electrokinesis and vector mama. Vector manipulation, honey. Inko helped him. Right, manipulation. Vector manipulation. Izuku grinned. Wow, you have 2 quirks. Ochaco looked at him in awe. He gave her an embarrassed smile. Thank you, but I'm still practicing with them. Pointing his finger at her nose, he gave it a light shock that made her nose twitch. See? I can send out small shocks like this, but Ji-chan says I still have to practice with it. Oh, what about the vector one? She asked. Izuku thought about it before answering. It lets me control vectors. That's what Bachan told me. That's amazing, Izuku-kun. You'll be the strongest hero ever. Ochaco praised. So will you, he told her. Me? Yeah, I like my quirks, but yours still sounds cool, he told her honestly. Ochaco did something he wasn't expecting. She gave him a hug that made him freeze in place, but he soon hugged her back, still confused by the sudden move. Thank you for saying that to me. He heard her mumble near his ear. He smiled. You're welcome. She broke the hug and held his hands. Let's be friends. That is, if you wanna. He squeezed her hands with eagerness. I want to be Ochaco's friend. She grinned happily before sticking her pinky finger out. Then let's make a promise to each other. That we'll be heroes. He grinned back, But we should be hero partners. Yeah. The promise was sealed with a pinky promise. A bond has forged between 2 children who will soon carve a path together. When it was time to go, Both children were understandably upset, but knew this wouldn't be the last time they see each other. Inko and Ochaco's parents exchanged numbers so their children could talk to each other much to their liking. Izuku was holding Sarah's hand as she walked them to the bus stop. The smile on his face was so big that he couldn't help himself. He made a new friend, and she was really pretty, too. Bachan. HM. Izuku looked down as he spoke. Ochaco, I thought she looked really pretty. Sarah giggled. Is that so? Make sure you tell her that next time. And who knows? She might think you look pretty handsome. Is handsome a good thing? Izuku asked, tilting his head slightly. Trust me, it's very good, Sarah assured him. You two have become tied together, and the bond between you two will continue to grow. She stopped suddenly, crouching down before her grandson. Listen to me, Izuku. You must continue to train in order to control your abilities. That means you must not hesitate, no matter what anyone tells you, no matter how hard they try to tear you down, no matter what cruel things are said to you. You can overcome any obstacle, do you understand? Izuku was taken by his grandmother's serious eyes and understood what she was trying to say to him. His once friend Kakin, who he will now start to call Bakugo, called him deku and quirkless all the time, making Izuku hesitate to speak up to him or fight back. But no more. Then let's make a promise to each other that we'll be heroes together. He made a promise with Ochaco and promised her they would become partners. Partners look out for each other and always have each other's back no matter what. Giving his grandmother a determined look, he answered, I understand, Bachan. I'll become strong. I'll become a strong hero just like you. Sarah smiled as she hugged her grandson. I know you will. I thought so from the moment you were born, that you will become a great hero. With those parting words, she saw them off, her smile never leaving her face. The new generation will finish what we started. May you children forever keep your hopes and dreams alive in this new era. For this nightmare finally ends, with all of you. School was back and the children were currently playing outside as it was now recess time. Izuku was outside with the other children, but he didn't play with them as the other kids didn't want to play with someone who was quirkless. Normally that would bother him, but after spending time and talking with his grandparents, he refused to let their taunts bother him anymore. Last night, he looked up ways to have a personality opposite from his own. He looked up in the dictionary what word describes what he's looking for and eventually found it. Apathy. According to the words that were under the word apathy, it means to have a not caring attitude and without interest. He sat down on his bed in a lotus position, thinking about all of the abuse Bakugo and his friend put him through, along with his classmates who ignored him like he didn't exist. It really hurt. Then he thought about Ochaco and her smiling face that washed away all of those negative feelings. He'd already decided. Just like his Bachan said, no matter what they say, he couldn't hesitate anymore, so he won't. He heard what sounded like a meow coming from on top of the tree he was leaning against. Getting up from the tree, he looked up and did indeed see a small kitten that was crouched down on one of the tree branches, trembling in fright. Oh no, he felt sorry for the poor thing and tried to figure out how to get it down. His electrokinesis? No, that would only hurt it. Vector manipulation, maybe? Well, he still doesn't know how it works, and now would be the right time to use it as a form of practice. Hey, Bakugo, what's Deku doing over there? One of the kids asked Bakugo, who currently had the ball in his hand. They were currently playing dodgeball, and Bakugo's team was winning, of course, because they had Bakugo on their team. The explosive user turned to see what his lackey was talking about and saw Deku staring up at a tree like an idiot. Oi, Deku, why are you out here with us that have quirks? Get lost, Bakugo yelled. Bakugo, along with everyone else, were expecting a reaction, but Izuku wasn't paying them any mind as he was still worried about the cat. He's ignoring you. Is he crazy? Bakugo didn't appreciate being ignored by some quirkless loser. Don't ignore me, loser. He threw the dodgeball he was holding at Izuku, expecting it to hit him only for it to explode caused by green electricity. It was silent on the playground. None of the other kids were expecting Deku to have a quirk since he was quirkless. Or he was supposed to be at least, but then what was that? Izuku himself still hadn't noticed, trying to decide whether to use his electrokinesis or vector manipulation. What? I thought he was quirkless. Bakugo stared in disbelief as he saw what remained of the dodgeball, which was nothing but ash. Deku had a quirk? This whole time he had a quirk. So he lied about not having one this whole time. Was he making fun of him? He was seething as his hands glowed. Deku. He charged at the boy who still had his back to him, and everyone else. As Bakugo's fist made contact with Izuku's back, he was sent flying backwards by some invisible shield. He landed on the ground on his back, propping himself up on his elbows as he tried to process what just happened. The other children were confused too. Izuku just used lightning. So what was that? Wait, what was that? Was that another quirk? No way. But we just saw it. He has to have 2 quirks. I don't believe it. Izuku, who was still oblivious to his surroundings, decided to use his vector ability to help get the kitten down. Taking a deep breath, he concentrated the air around him as he created 2 high-powered tornadoes behind him that allowed him to levitate and reach the tree branch. Sitting on the branch, he reached his hand out towards the frightened kitten. "It's okay," he said gently, waiting patiently for the kitten to come over to him. The little guy went over to him slowly before sniffing Izuku's fingers and licking it, proving he trusted the child. With a smile, Izuku grabbed the kitten gently before using his vector ability to get him back down from the tree branch, landing safely on the ground. "You got separated from your mama, right? Let's go look for her together," Izuku said with a smile, giggling when the kitten licked his nose. As he walked away from the playground, he was still unaware of the faces of the other children who'd seen what he just did, including Bakugo. Looks like Izuku wasn't so quirkless after all. As for Izuku himself, he couldn't wait to tell Ochaco the good news about him getting a kitten down from a tree. He couldn't wait to tell her. As soon as school let out, Izuku wasted no time in packing his things and running out the door. He spotted his mom, running up to her with a beaming smile. "Mom, guess what?" "What?" Inko questioned, amused by her son's excited tone. Izuku looked around before gesturing for his mom to bend down so he could tell her something. She humored him and crouched down to his eyes level. "I used my vector quirk to get kitten down from a tree," he whispered. Inko wanted to scold him, but didn't since her son used it to save a helpless little kitten. The smile on his face was just too pure and honest to scold. Hand in hand, the 2 members of the Midoriya family walked home, and Inko noticed the children were pointing at her son and whispering things, but she didn't want to hear what they were saying about her son. She no longer cared. When they got home, Izuku immediately went towards the phone and dialed the number Ochaco's parents gave to his mother and spoke to his friend. He told her how he saved a helpless kitten from a tree and felt warm when his friend called him a hero for it. After talking on the phone for what felt like an hour, the 2 children hung up and got ready for dinner. As Izuku lay in his bed with a small smile on his face, he did wonder why his classmates and Kakin were staring at him the way they did. Oh, well, it probably wasn't all that important anyway. Except, his classmates made it important. Izuku continued to train with his abilities. He made his very own schedule. Monday, practice electrokinesis. Tuesday, vector training. Wednesday, and so on. Izuku discovered he could lift things with his vector ability instead of just making himself fly, which he was still getting the hang of. He was doing the breathing techniques his grandfather told him to do, and that was helping him control his abilities much better, too. As he was training, he noticed something when he was at school that he hadn't noticed before. The other kids were smiling and even talking to him, which was a first since they would always ignore and make fun of him. That's why when they put on those smiles of theirs, he kept his distance. He wasn't as dumb as Bakugo always said he was. His eyes were very observant to many things, including people's emotions. Right away, he could tell that the smiles on his classmates' faces were fake, not real or sincere at all. His grandmother was right. She told him that when his classmates found out he had 2 quirks, they would try to suck up to him. He didn't like it. Another thing he didn't like was the fact that Bakugo had challenged him, which made him confused. Izuku refused and walked away, not seeing a reason to accept Bakugo's challenge. He heard a weird sound and proceeded to turn behind him, spotting Bakugo on the ground, saying curse words. Izuku was about to help him up when a punch was sent his way, but was blocked again by some invisible force that sent Bakugo flying backwards again. His heart broke at the sight. This proved that Bakugo would never see him as a friend ever again. His only friend was Ochaco. He understands that now. Dejected by Bakugo's obvious animosity towards him, he walked away sadly, not even hearing Bakugo's words behind him. Listening to Ochaco's voice when he called her made him feel better as he told her about Bakugo. Ochaco told him that it was okay that Bakugo didn't want to be friend anymore, because she'll always be his friend no matter what. This brought a smile to his face when she said those words. He was so glad he met Ochaco, and so glad she wanted to be his friend. There were times he wished the two of them could always be together and wondered if Ochaco felt the same as he did. Ochaco told him how she was enjoying school and was making a lot of friends, but said the friendship they have is special. That made him feel good inside. Ochaco was special to him, too. Mom? Yes? He looked like he was struggling to say what he wanted to say, but pushed forward with these feelings inside him. I think Ochaco means a lot to me, he confessed. Inko stopped eating momentarily before she gave her son the biggest smile he had ever seen. It made him scared for some reason. My, is that so? Inko said with a sweet smile that made Izuku's spine shiver. Why, yeah. She stood up suddenly with stars in her eyes. I know what we should do. We should have a sleepover between you two. Yeah? A sleepover? He stuttered. Yes, a sleepover. You two are going to have a sleepover when your school lets out for spring break. Inko told him with a smile. Really? Yay. He said happily but then paused. Wait, are boys and girls allowed to have sleepovers with each other? They are, Inko assured him. Izuku smiled then hopped off his chair. I'm going to go call Ochaco and tell her. You do that, sweetie, Inko said as he headed towards the phone. She stayed in the kitchen with a cunning smile on her face. If this sleepover is a success, Ochaco-chan might become my new daughter-in-law soon. Poor Izuku and Ochaco had no idea about Inko's scheme. Spring break came a lot faster than Izuku had expected, but he wasn't complaining. He'd been looking forward to it because his friend Ochaco was coming over to spend the whole spring break with him. He couldn't remember the last time he had a sleepover with someone because it had been so long. The only time was with. His eyes glazed over as he remembered who the last person was he had a sleepover with. Bakugo Katsuki, who he used to call Kakin, would invite him over to his place to watch Hero TV and see All Might beat up the bad guys. Bakugo said he wanted to be a hero that was better than All Might. Izuku said he wanted to be a hero to save others just like his grandmother did. He remembered how Bakugo said that was lame, and that was the first time Izuku had gotten angry at the blonde and told him to never say mean things about his grandmother ever again. Bakugo didn't mention anything about his grandmother after that, but that didn't mean he wouldn't try to eventually. When he told Ochaco his grandmother used to be a hero, she gave his grandmother a look of amazement. His grandmother used her ability to help the police catch the bad guys and help some pro heroes, too. His grandpa was also strong. He asked how the two of them and was confused when they said, "We'll tell you when you're older." What did that mean? There was a noise, the same noise that a train makes when it reaches its destination, that brought him back to reality. The doors opened, and he spotted his friend getting off the train with her own backpack and a smile on her face. As soon as she spotted Izuku, she ran over to him, bubbling with excitement. Izuku-kun. Ochaco smiled. Ochaco. Izuku smiled back. I'm so excited. I've never been to a sleepover before. She told him. I have, but it'll be better with you, he said. Really? Yeah. Inko was busy talking to Ochaco's parents while the children talked about how fun the sleepover was going to be. The two women were whispering something that made Ochaco's father nervous, but knew he had no say and simply gave up. Ochaco hugged her parents, bidding them a farewell before she stood next to Izuku and waved them off with a smile. Inko grabbed both their hands. Now then, let's get going, shall we? Yes. Both children smiled as they left the train station and headed off. Location: Midoriya residence. Inko opened the door to her and Izuku's apartment. Welcome to our home, Ochaco-chan. Pardon the intrusion. Ochaco stuttered as she walked inside the apartment, letting her eyes wander around. It's so nice. Thank you, sweetie. Inko smiled at the girl's polite personality that was similar to her son's. She couldn't wait for the two of them to start dating. Then they'll get married and have lots of grandchildren for her to spoil. Inko wasn't even aware she was giggling creepily, but the children did and backed away from her slowly. Mom. Izuku called out to the woman. Is there something wrong? Inko asked sweetly. And no, both children shook their heads. Good. Izuku, why don't you show Ochaco-chan to your room while I get some snacks prepared, okay? She said. Okay. Izuku took her hand and dragged her to his room, all the while not seeing her red cheeks. Here's my room. Izuku opened the door and showed her the inside of his room. Ochaco's eyes took in Izuku's room and noticed how clean it was, and that he had a lot of books around. Why do you have so many books? She asked. Oh, Grandma told me that I can read them when I'm old enough. He explained. Why? She questioned, tilting her head to the side. I don't know, but I'll wait to read it when I'm old enough, just like I promised. He smiled. Ochaco smiled back as she sat her backpack down on his bed and sat on it. I really do like your room. It feels nice. Izuku sat next to her. Thanks. I bet your room looks really good, too. She started kicking her legs back and forth. No way. Izuku-kun's room is definitely better than mine. He blushed and brought his attention to the floor. It's been a long time since I've had a friend come over. Don't you have other friends, Izuku-kun? She asked. He shook his head sadly. No. I had a best friend, but he doesn't see me as a friend anymore. Why? She couldn't understand why nobody would be his friend. Izuku was kind and a lot of interesting things to talk about, too. Izuku was nervous to tell her the whole truth, but something deep inside told him Ochaco wasn't like them. She would be understanding and wouldn't judge him like his classmates or give him the cold shoulder. She's different. Izuku looked her right in the eyes, determined to say what he had to say. It's because I didn't always have a quirk. He saw the look of surprise on her face as he revealed he didn't always have a quirk. I didn't get it at 4 like everybody else, and because of that I was called quirkless a lot and nobody wanted to be around me. Catch Bakugo was the first person to start bullying and saying mean things to me. Everyone else followed what he did. Out of the corner of his eye he could feel the sadness coming off of her. We used to be best friend, but since he got his quirk before me, he doesn't see me as a friend anymore. He felt himself be engulfed in a hug by Ochaco and heard her sniffle, making him turn his head fully at her. She looked up with water welled up in her eyes. Ochaco, you don't need them, she yelled suddenly, making him jump. Yeah? She grabbed both of his hands this time. You don't need those meanies. Izuku-kun has me as his friend now, so forget about them. Izuku was speechless but smiled as his cheeks were tinted red, and he squeezed her hands with a feeling of appreciation. Thank you, Ochaco. Thank you. He really meant it too. The smile he received in return made his chest act funny, but he didn't dislike it. He won't take this friendship for granted, or Ochaco's kindness for granted either. 3 days of spring break have passed already, and both Izuku and Ochaco were enjoying it to the fullest. Izuku remembered how Ochaco told him that Space Hero 13 was her favorite hero, so when Hero TV came on showing him, he made sure to tell her. The squeal and hug she gave him was worth it as she watched her favorite hero on screen. Space Hero 13 was pretty cool, and his quirk was impressive too. It's good for a lot of things really, like offensive, defensive, and other things. For those 3 days the two of them would go to the park, the same park where Izuku and Katsuki used to play together before he got his quirk and started acting arrogant. It would always be just the two of them there, which was a good thing because Ochaco told him that if she ever met Katsuki Bakugo, she would slap him hard. Izuku merely nodded his head as he saw how scary her eyes looked. The two of them practiced their quirks together too. Since they decided to be a hero duo, it was best to start practicing with each other so they could understand the limit of their own abilities and the strength and weaknesses of them, too. Ochaco still threw up a little when she used her quirk for too long, but Izuku was always there to rub her back in order to make her feel better. Izuku realized he could lift magnetic things thanks to his electrokinesis ability, but he couldn't lift heavy things yet. He wasn't strong enough. He could lift things with his vector ability too. He could lift up a trash can easily, but when he tried to lift the park bench off the ground, he fell to the floor, sweating a little. Ochaco dabbed some sweat off his forehead as he gave her a weak smile. They weren't there yet when it came to their abilities, but the more they trained, the more they would get better at it, so they would keep trying. Hey, Izuku-kun, Ochaco said. Izuku hummed, having a popsicle in his mouth. Ochaco gave him a nervous glance. Where's your dad? Izuku took the popsicle out of his mouth as the atmosphere changed. Ochaco started freaking out. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have asked. He's not allowed to see me. Ochaco stopped having her freak out and gave him a confused look. He's not allowed to see you? He nodded. Why? He finished off his popsicle and answered her question. Because he did something bad. What did he do? He shook his head. I don't know. But Grandma said that Mom told him not to come near me ever again. When I tried to ask what he did, she told me not to worry. Oh, Ochaco wanted to ask if his father was a villain, but refrained from doing so. She was curious to know what he tried to do to her friend that was so bad that his mom told him to stay away. Her chest tightened the more she thought about it. Why? Izuku saw that on his stick it read, winner, making him grin happily. Looks like he and Ochaco will be getting free popsicles for a month. Yay, this was turning out to be the best spring break ever. Or so he thought. Location convenience store. Inko, Izuku, and Ochaco were walking through the store to get some things. The older Midoriya was keeping an eye on the children as they went towards the snacks. Inko didn't feel comfortable leaving the children at home, so she took them with her. Izuku and Ochaco were scanning the snack aisle to see what looked good to them. They picked out a few things and brought them over to Inko, who took the items and put them in the bag. And just when she was about to go over to the register, there was a loud noise. Bang! Everyone froze, not moving a muscle as they heard a gun go off in the store. There was a man in a black hoodie with yellow eyes that were slit like a lizard's with green scales. Nobody move. He pointed the gun at a random shopper, making her shriek. If any one of you moves a muscle, I'll start shooting. Another gunshot was heard as there was another robber with an AK-47. Listen to what we say, and we might let you out of here alive. If we feel like it. He said the last part with a smirk. One of the cashiers moved a little before freezing in place when another gun was pointed right at the back of his head. Didn't we tell you not to move, huh? A female voice snarled at him. Izuku and Ochaco were immediately held by Inko as she tried to shield them from looking at the three scary people. Both children were scared and held the woman tightly as they shivered in her arms. Of all the times for there to be a robbery, it would have to be today. Now listen up. The lizard-like man who was assumed to be the leader spoke. We're going to be using all of you as hostages while we run this joint. And when the police and heroes show up, we'll use you lot as human shields. The scared people gasped, but he wasn't done. And if we get bored, then we'll just kill you. He smirked as his two lackeys laughed. Izuku couldn't believe what was happening right now. Why were these people doing this? He could feel Ochaco trembling next to him in fear, so he grabbed her hand and gave it a light squeeze. It's okay, Ochaco. He tried his best to show her through his eyes that everything will be okay. She seemed to understand the gesture and squeezed his hand right back and gave a small nod. These people were scary, very scary, but if Izuku says everything's all right, then she would believe him. Meanwhile, outside, the police force had already arrived and surrounded the place and were waiting for any pro heroes that were available to show up. There was a man in front of the police cars. It was a tall man with short black hair and black eyes. He wears a signature tan overcoat and a matching hat. He also sports a black suit underneath with matching slacks and dress shoes. This man's full name was Naomasa Tsukachi, a member of the police force and friend to a certain pro hero that everyone knows. Naomasa didn't like this at all. He knew the three people in there weren't just ordinary robbers. They were part of a gang that was known for having individuals with dangerous quirks that attack people randomly. By the time the police force finally get a hit on their location, they're already gone. Black Arachnid. They stayed quiet over the past 3 years, so why are they acting now? The possibility of this being random is low, very low, which means that this was planned. Naomasa-san here? One of the police officers handed him a megaphone. He took it. Thank you. He dismissed the officer. Can you hear me in there, members of Black Arachnid? My name is Detective Naomasa Tsukachi. We have the building surrounded. Let the people in the store go free, and we can settle this peacefully. He knew they weren't going to comply with that request, but he had to make time for All Might to get here. The doors opened and officers already had their guns ready to fire, but ceased when they saw one of the Black Arachnid members was holding one of the customers hostage. Do not fire. I repeat, do not fire. He has a hostage, one of the officers yelled. The Black Arachnid member smirked as he pressed the gun to the woman's head. That's right. If you bastards move a single muscle, I'll blow her fucking brains out," he threatened, pressing the gun even closer to the woman's temple as she trembled with tears threatening to leak out. Neo Mesa's brows furrowed as he knew the man wasn't making an empty threat. Their group has killed before and wouldn't hesitate to kill everyone in the store should they try to interfere. Damn it. He could see in the store window that there were 2 children in there, one with green hair and the other with brown. He couldn't see what their expressions were, but he didn't need to know, for it was obvious those children were terrified. "We're running the show now. If you don't want us to start killing, then you better bring 300 million yen here, ASAP. If you clowns even so much as think about trying to take us out." His finger played with the trigger on the gun, and the woman whined in fear. "Well, let's just say things will get bloody real quick." Neo Mesa clenched his fists as the man dragged the terrified woman back in the store. They have no choice to comply because otherwise everyone in the store was in grave danger and they couldn't risk their safety. "I am." Neo Mesa breathed in a sigh of relief when he heard that famous catchphrase, "Here?" Just as he was stressing when All Might would get here, the man shows up. "Am I ever glad to see you," Neo Mesa said. "Forgive me for not getting here sooner, but there was something else that needed my attention." "What's the situation?" All Might asked. "Bad." Neo Mesa turned his attention back over to the store's entrance. "They're holding the customers in there as hostages and are demanding a large sum of money. They won't hesitate to start killing them if we don't comply with their demands, and considering who we're up against, we need to be careful about this." "What do you mean?" Neo Mesa gave him the side eye. "Black arachnid." All Might gasped before his face became serious. "So they've come out of hiding, huh? But why now?" "I don't know, but we need to hurry up and get those people out of the store. There are children in there, too." Neo Mesa frowned with worry. All Might clenched his fists tightly, realizing that he would be putting the people in there in a lot more danger if he tried busting in there. What the hell were they going to do? Back inside the store, the 3 members of Black Arachnid had gathered all of the hostages in a circle. Inko was still holding the 2 children close to her, and Izuku was still holding Ochaco's hand, refusing to let go of her. He still couldn't understand why these people were doing this. He eyed the spider-like symbol on the back of their jackets and wondered if it symbolized something for them. The feel of his hand being gripped lightly dragged him out of his thoughts as he looked over at Ochaco. Judging by her expression, it seems she's calmed down a little, but was still frightened. As if feeling his worried eyes on her, she tried her best to give him a smile, but it still showed how scared she was. He leaned in and whispered, "It's okay. I won't let them hurt you or Mom, I promise." She seemed to take comfort in that promise and leaned her head on his shoulder. Izuku frowned. These people were bad, and they were scaring everyone here in the store. They even threatened to kill everyone if anyone tries to move a muscle, and he wasn't strong enough to fight all 3 of them. "What should I do, Bachan?" "Those assholes decide to give up the money yet?" the female robber asked. "Nah, but I heard All Might out there. You think he's going to try to bust in here?" one of the males asked. With all of these hostages here, the one with the lizard-like features smirked. "Not even the number 1 hero is that stupid. They have no choice but to do as we say because we're serious. But it wouldn't hurt to keep 1 hostage as collateral." "Sounds good to me." the female smirked. "So, who wants to volunteer?" the male next to her said, looking at the hostages. Everyone huddled closer together, and Inko tightened her hold on Izuku and Ochaco. But apparently, that was a bad move, for the robbers decided who they were going to use as collateral. "Get up, you fucking brat," the female ordered, pointing her gun at Izuku. Izuku's heart froze as the female bad guy demanded he get up. He could feel his mother's grip on him tighten. Ochaco did the same thing. His mother wouldn't let go of him, and neither did Ochaco. Looking up at his mother's face, he saw her face look different and couldn't describe what kind of expression she was making. "Are you fucking deaf? Get the fuck up," the female yelled as she got closer to the trio, this time pointing her gun at Inko. "If you don't get the fuck up, I'll blow your mother's fucking brains out." "He's just a child. How could you?" an elderly customer yelled at the woman. "Shut up, you old hag," the lizard robber yelled as backhanded her with his pistol. Izuku could feel his heart pounding in his chest as he struggled to understand the new situation before him. He wanted to move, but his mother wouldn't let him. Inko lifted her head up as she glared at the female robber, not showing any ounce of fear. "What the fuck are you looking at, bitch? Trying to act all brave?" the female taunted. "I pity you," Inko said. "What?" Coming in here and waving that weapon around without a care in the world, Inko continued, threatening to kill everyone in here and even trying to hold my son as a hostage. "What kind of pathetic person are you?" The female robber was seething with rage. "What did you just say?" "I refuse." Inko's glare intensified. "I refuse to be intimidated by a pathetic person like you." Izuku couldn't believe his mother just said that. She sounded so cool. Even Ochaco gave her a look of awe as she spoke bravely to the female robber. The female robber didn't take kindly to the words, however. "Screw you." That's when the officers outside hear a bullet go off. Naomasa and All Might stood as still as statues as they heard a gun go off. No. Back inside the store, Izuku opened his eyes as the ringing in his ears was loud and unpleasant. He felt some sort of liquid run down his face and used his hand to find out what it was. As he moved his hand away from his face, he saw it was red liquid. Red. Blood. Slowly, he turned his head towards his mother and saw her shoulder was bleeding, but she was still holding him and refused to let him or Ochaco go. Ochaco was yelling as she laid his mother down on the ground, pressing both hands on her shoulder. "This bad person shot his mother. She shot his mother. She shot her. Shot her. Unforgivable. Unforgivable." Something within him snapped, and Izuku was no longer in control of what happened next. Dumb bitch." The female robber scoffed before she turned her attention to a silent Izuku and grabbed his arm. "Come here, you fuck." There was a sound, and the next thing she knew, her gun was sliced into pieces by an unseen force. "What the?" She then found herself forced away from Izuku and slammed violently into the wall. "What the hell?" She tried to move, but found she couldn't as both her arms and legs felt like they were being pinned down by something far stronger than her. "What the fuck? Why?" she yelled, trying to get free. Izuku sat up slowly. His bangs were shadowing his eyes as he slowly walked over to the female robber, ignoring the two behind him. "Oi, stay the hell where you are, you dash." The lizard male was cut off as his gun was sliced in pieces. The same thing happened to the man next to him. "What the hell?" The second male stared down at his now useless weapon. Izuku was still moving towards the female robber, who was starting to get a little scared. "Oi, stop standing there looking retarded. Just kill this fucking brat already." "Shut up. We know." The lizard man was about to attack Izuku, but didn't get the chance to because the next thing he knew, an electric-like force similar to a cannon slammed right into his stomach, sending him through the walls of the store and causing an explosion. The man was sent all the way outside and hit the other side of the wall outside, and the police saw it. Naomasa was one of the first ones to run over to the man as the smoke cleared and flinched back a little as he saw the man's head was smashed open. He clearly died on impact. "My God." All Might, who appeared next to him, forced out, then looked back into the store. What on earth could have caused such a powerful force to send the man through concrete wall, to smashing his head open on a brick wall? Before Naomasa could respond, an officer ran over to them. "Sir, the hostages are floating out of the store." "What?" He got up quickly and ran to the front of the store and did indeed see the hostages were all being escorted out by some unseen force and soon landed before the officers. "Is everyone all right?" he asked. "No." One of the female hostages said. "That boy's mother took a bullet to the shoulder. She's really hurt. You have to go in there." "That boy saved us. You have to help him," a male pleaded. "Please. There's a little girl in there, too." The elderly woman who got hit also pleaded. There was a loud noise, and the next thing he knew, another one of the robbers was sent flying out of the store and slammed into the building behind the police before falling to the ground. Dead. Naomasa didn't even hesitate as he turned to All Might. "We need to get in there now," he said to the hero as they both went through the front door and saw two things. The first thing they saw was the injured woman who was having her shoulder wound be pressed down on by the little girl. And second, the boy who had pinned the female robber to the wall. "What in the world?" All Might said, trying to comprehend what he was seeing. Ochaco looked over at them with pleading eyes. "Please help her. She's bleeding a lot. Please." Naomasa went over to the unconscious woman and the girl and inspected the wound. It's not too serious, but she will need medical attention. All Might took a step towards the boy and female robber, but jumped back when he sensed something, and sure enough, there was a dent in the floor from where he just was. If I had gotten any closer, I'd been killed, he eyed the boy's back. But still, to think this young boy did all of this himself. It shouldn't be possible. Let me go, you fucking brat. Let me go? The female robber yelled in fear. Her arm was suddenly moved and then twisted before it was tore off, making the woman scream bloody murder. Mesa and All Might had to flinch at the young boy's brutality, and flinched again when he tossed the arm away like it was yesterday's garbage. The woman was still screaming, but not for long as she was punched in the gut by something invisible, cutting off her screams. Her arm was still dripping with blood, as was her mouth. She was slammed into the wall again, this time hard enough to knock her unconscious and tossed away like a rag doll. The young boy walked over by the unconscious woman, prompting All Might to make a move. Wait, young man. All Might jumped back again, as this time an electric attack almost hit him. An electric attack? A dual quirk user? Mesa whispered. Izuku stopped walking towards the woman and slowly turned his head towards the two males. When they saw there was no light in his eyes, they gave a shudder. His eyes looked at them with the intent to kill. Izuku-kun, Ochaco yelled, running towards him and embracing him in a hug. You don't have to beat them up anymore. Everyone's okay now. That seemed to calm Izuku down a little, probably because he heard Ochaco's voice. Mesa stood up slowly. All Might, I need you to take this woman to the paramedics that are outside. But I can handle this. Mesa assured him with a smile. All Might gave up and carefully picked the unconscious green-haired woman up, that Izuku's attention again as electricity surged through his body. Mesa raised both his hands up. It's okay, Izuku. I can call you Izuku, right? The electricity that surrounded his body slowly faded as he heard the man's voice. Mesa saw that as a good sign. My name is Mesa Tsukauchi. I'm a detective, and that person who just took your mother away to a safer place was All Might. Izuku said nothing as he simply stared at the man. Mesa took small steps forward. You know, those people out there said you protected them. That was very brave of you. You prevented deaths today, and your friend is right. You've done enough for today. He stopped before the children and bent down. It's okay, Izuku. We can handle the rest from here. The light in Izuku's eyes returned as he blinked a few times and looked around, trying to register his surroundings. Ochaco, he whispered. Izuku-kun. Ochaco smiled as she hugged her friend. You're back. Izuku was confused. Back? What are you? He went limp in her arms and she panicked. Izuku-kun, what's wrong? Ochaco yelled. Mesa checked him over. He's okay. Your friend just lost consciousness. He'll be okay. Ochaco was about to thank him when the scary woman woke up, getting his attention. She stood up slowly as blood dripped out of her arm. I'll fucking kill Y-. Before she could charge at them, a bullet was lodged in her skull. Thankfully, Ochaco had already closed her eyes when Mesa shot her. Let's get you kids out of here, Mesa said. As he picked up Izuku and Ochaco followed right behind him. As they got outside, they were met with cheers from the people that were kept as hostages and some reporters that reported everyone was okay, and that only one person was injured. Thankfully, no one reported the name of the woman, thank God, and no one mentioned Izuku or Ochaco's names. These kids have been through enough. Mesa would be lying if he said the 3 members of Black Arachnid got what they deserved for holding people hostage and promised to kill them. They went so far as to shoot the mother of Midoriya Izuku without hesitation, and in front of her son no less. What made him feel bad was the fact that the kid was forced to kill 2 of them after having suffered from the trauma of seeing his mother be shot right in front of him. He didn't feel bad about shooting the last one in the head either, even though he knows he should, but the children were in danger and he needed to protect them. He was still trying to figure out what Black Arachnid's objective was. What would prompt a criminal gang to suddenly show its face after being in hiding for so long? It couldn't have been a coincidence. Those don't exist, not in the world of heroes and villains. You shouldn't frown so much, you'll get wrinkles, said a blond, sickly-looking man as he gave Mesa a drink. Mesa took it gratefully. Thanks, Yagi. Don't mention it, Yagi said as he sat down next to him in the waiting room. How are they? With a sigh, Naomasa told him, the boy, Midoriya Izuku, doesn't have any physical injuries, but as for his mental ones. Yagi made a noise as he let his head fall limp and stared at the ground. What about the young lady with him? She's also fine, Naomasa said. According to her, Izuku held her hand the whole time the members of Black Arachnid were threatening everyone. His mother has a shoulder wound, but thankfully it wasn't serious, so she's going to be okay. She's already out of surgery and is just sleeping for now. I see. Thank goodness. Yagi breathed a sigh of relief. But then, what was that? By that you mean the boy's quirk? Yagi sat up in his chair. There are known dual quirk users out there, with Endeavor's youngest boy being one of them. But I've never seen a quirk like young Midoriya. Naomasa threw his cup in the trash. Electricity quirk users aren't all that rare, but his was different from your average electric quirk user. He sent a grown man flying through a concrete wall, slamming him into a brick wall where he died upon impact to the back of the head. Then there was that other ability he displayed that we weren't able to see. It would appear quirks are still a mystery to us even now, Yagi said. Naomasa turned to him. This bothers you, doesn't it? I'd be lying if I said it didn't, Yagi admitted. That young boy was able to take down all three of them by himself. Also, there were his eyes. Naomasa looked down. Those eyes. He frowned when he remembered Izuku's blank, yet murderous eyes. For a moment, I felt as though I were about to be killed by a child. His quirk didn't go out of control either. He had complete control of it, and the way his body moved, even though he was clearly out of it. It was almost as though his body was acting on autopilot as he dealt with the members of Black Arachnid. I've never seen such potential in a child his age before, Yagi said, sounding impressed. He'll become a force to be reckoned with when he gets older. Naomasa made a hum of agreement. I'm worried about the boy's mental state. There's no telling just how much psychological damage he's sustained because of this. Yagi agreed with him wholeheartedly. The boy was going to need serious counseling for what happened today. With Izuku, the ceiling was so white. As soon as he woke up, the first thing he did was ask for his mom and friend. Both of them were all right, even though his mom needed surgery to get the bullet out of her shoulder, but she'll be fine. Ochaco was okay too, just shaken up after what happened. Then there was him. The memories of what he did to those three robbers hit him like a ton of bricks. He killed those robbers. He killed the two of them and took the arm off of the other. Having the memories of what he did to them hit him all at once was just too much for him to process. It made him want to throw up. He didn't mean to kill two of them and take the arm off of the other. He really didn't mean to. So why did he feel a sense of accomplishment? Why? Why did he feel so good? He's not supposed to feel this way, right? If that's the case, then why? Izuku-kun? Ochaco's voice snaps him out of whatever trance he's in, and he turns to see her worried expression. He didn't mean to make her wear such an expression. He wanted to see her smile and laugh. So why was she looking really sad? What's wrong? Did you get hurt? He asked with his own worried expression. She shook her head frantically. No, I'm okay. It's just, I'm worried about you. He gave her a forced smile. I'm okay. See. But you're not okay, she told him, still clearly worried. The smile on his face faltered slightly, but he was still determined to pretend he was okay. I'm really okay. You and Mom are safe, and those three bad guys can't hurt anyone anymore. Also dash. He was cut off when Ochaco suddenly hugged him out of nowhere. The brown-haired girl hugged her friend tightly. It's okay. We're okay. Izuku returned the hug as he cried silently into her shoulder. She didn't even care if her shirt got wet. Her friend was feeling bad after what happened today, and she didn't want him to keep feeling that way anymore. Ochaco, did I scare you? He asked, fearful of what her answer might be. What a stupid question. Of course she would be afraid of him. That's why he was surprised when she shook her head as she broke the hug and looked him in the eye. Those scary robbers scared me. Izuku-kun is my best friend, and you're not scary. Izuku felt his chest swell as she gave her a heartfelt smile as his cheeks were tinted pink. Hey Izuku-kun, let's make another promise, she said suddenly. Another promise? She held out her pinky finger, and he did the same thing. Let's promise that no matter what, we'll stay by each other's side. Izuku wanted that very much. He wanted to stay by her side and protect her. He linked pinkies with her with a smile as he vowed to get stronger after what happened today. He overheard that police officers say that there were more of those people in black clothes. Black arachnid, he called them. If they were causing trouble, then he'll stop them, but he won't kill like he did this time. He won't stoop down to their level. He won't ever be weak again. Never again. Izuku and Ochaco decided to put the whole attempted robbery incident behind them. But Izuku still had started getting nightmares about the two men he killed. He would call his grandmother and tell her about it, and she would always give him comforting advice and tell him words he needed to hear. Inko was okay from the bullet she took to the shoulder and told her son it was a mother's job to protect their children and that she'd do it again. He was just happy she was okay. Ochaco's parents had thanked him over and over again for protecting Ochaco. And he'd do it again in a heartbeat, too. He still couldn't remember how he killed those two men from Black Arachnid, but slowly the memories were there and would strike at him whenever he let his guard down. He and Ochaco found a secret spot where he would train and she would train with him. They needed to get stronger so they won't ever feel weak ever again, and he promised to never lose himself like that ever again. That detective came over a few times too. Naomesa, he said his name was. Izuku had seen him in the hospital that day too, along with that skinny blonde-haired man who he remembered was named Yagi. It felt strange to see them come to their house, and sometimes Izuku wondered how they knew where he lived, but shook his head, remembering the man was a cop and could find out anything he wanted. The two men would always ask him the same thing, "How are you feeling?" among other questions, and he would always tell them the same thing. He was fine, but he really wasn't. The nightmares still bothered him, and every time he had one, he would call his grandmother, and she wouldn't be surprised by his call at all because she had been expecting it. He won't let these nightmares stop him from what he needs to do, and he won't anyone hurt those he loves either. He and Ochaco made a promise together, a promise to get stronger together. They were going to be a hero duo and always stay by each other's side no matter what. That meant he had to get rid of his other self and become someone new. Someone who wasn't afraid to stand up to those who hurt others, who wasn't afraid to fight, who wasn't afraid of anything. The sky looked peaceful as the white, fluffy clouds drifted aimlessly without a care in the world. The sun, beaming down its warm glow on those below it, keeping them warm and hot at the same time. Calming and peaceful, just as it should be. Too bad he couldn't enjoy it forever like he dreamed out. Oh well. These thoughts were currently going through the mind of none other than Midoriya Izuku, who had indeed changed from the person he used to be. The boy was about 6 feet tall now, lean muscular figure, but not too muscular, and was currently enjoying whatever quiet time he could get for how long it would last, which in his mind wasn't very long. He had his red AirPods in his ears, listening to some good music as he gazed up at the calm blue sky that didn't have a care in the world. How he wished the same thing for him. But in this school, there's always something going on, and people are always bothering him. Just as the current song he was listening to went off, and another one was about to start playing, the door to the school roof opened, and he heard a familiar voice. Being on the school roof 5 minutes before homeroom is about to start is prohibited, Midoriya Izuku, the voice said. With a groan, Izuku got up from his lying position on his back and eyed 2 members of the disciplinary committee, one he recognized while the other one looked new. A trainee probably. Gotta give the members of the student council credit though, they are a persistent bunch. He let out a yawn as he jumped down from where he was watching the sky and addressed them. Do I really have to go to class? He whined, taking his AirPods out of his ears. The black-haired ponytail female disciplinary committee member who he already knew sighed. Yes, you do. Honestly, Midoriya, why do you insist on sleeping up here on the roof of all places knowing you might be late for class? Because I'm in no mood to deal with Katsuki Bakugo, Izuku said dryly. In case you forget, we're in the same class. The newbie next to known member of the disciplinary committee sweat dropped while the other member of the disciplinary committee sighed, but otherwise understood. Be that as it may, you still need to get to class. Izuku gave her a hard stare, making the newbie nervous before dipping his head a little. Fine, I'll go. He gave a lazy wave as he left the roof. Honestly, he's so stubborn. The female member huffed in amusement. Senpai? The male newbie spoke up for the first time. J just now, that was Midoriya Izuku, also known as the absolute strongest here in our school, she informed. The male newbie's eyes had stars in them. I thought so. But I'm surprised. I thought he'd be a lot scarier like Katsuki Bakugo. She huffed. It's rude to compare Izuku to Bakugo of all people. Do you mean? The two of them left the roof but continued the conversation. Unlike Katsuki Bakugo, Midoriya Izuku is humble with his quirk abilities. He never uses them on school grounds unless he has to. And when he does, he always asks for our permission first. She explained. Wow, that is humble, he said. Then if he's the strongest quirk user we have in our school, then does that make Katsuki Bakugo the second strongest? Unfortunately, she said with a sneer, Katsuki Bakugo constantly declares how he's better than everyone and always giving us a hard time. He has his own little gang that hangs around him, too. He hasn't hurt anyone with his quirk, has he? He asked fearfully. She shook her head. No, but he does threaten some of the students with it. That's dangerous, he cried. Clearly, but that is why some of us disciplinary committee members deal with him, and in some cases, Midoriya Izuku helps. She said. He helps out the disciplinary committee? From time to time. Everyone here knows he's the strongest and the only one capable to dealing with Katsuki Bakugo, even though doing so gives him a headache. She said, her tone filled with amusement. I just never thought I'd get to see him in person, he said. At my old school, he's somewhat of a celebrity. She looked thoughtful. So he's already gaining the attention of some schools, has he? I wonder what he'll say to that. Speaking of Izuku, he was currently walking to homeroom, very much aware of the stares he'd been getting from the students. They were looks of awe that he still found annoying. Ever since that robbery incident during spring break and his resolve to get stronger, he had been getting these looks ever since. He trained day and night to improve his abilities and was pleased with the results. The kids of his elementary school called him absolute strongest, which truthfully, he wasn't that strong. Considering all of the pro heroes he knows about, he wasn't anywhere near their level, not even close. Anyway, since elementary school, he was deemed the strongest while Bakugo came second. Naturally, this pissed him off, and he once again challenged Izuku, or at least tried to anyway. Before anything could happen, Izuku knocked him out with a swift punch to the gut and then walked away. To this day, he couldn't even remember why he looked up to Bakugo in the first place. Guess it doesn't matter now. He spotted his homeroom and went in, though with great reluctance. Immediately, the talking ceased as he walked over by his seat and sat down with a bored expression. I missed the roof already. He could clearly hear the conversations all around him, so he ignored all of the chatter and opted to get some relaxation in before Bakugo shows up and makes a lot of racket. He's here before homeroom starts? One of the members of the disciplinary committee must have bothered him again. He's cool to look it up close, isn't he? I know, right? I can't hear you. Izuku sighed, inwardly opting to just forget about it and try to go to sleep. The door then slammed opened, and in came none other than Katsuki Bakugo. Great, and now the nuisance shows up. TCH, pain in the ass disciplinary committee. I'll blow them to pieces one day. Bakugo vowed. Today was just not Izuku's day. First having his private moment disturbed, being forced to come to homeroom, and now Bakugo. The biggest annoyance of all. Maybe if he pretends to be asleep, the blonde will leave him alone. Boy, wake the hell up, Deku. Ignore, 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 ignore. He chanted in his head. But of course, things don't always work out the way you want them to. He felt someone kick his desk, and of course the only person it could be was Bakugo, but Izuku was still pretending to be asleep, so he wouldn't have to deal with the blonde. He's ignoring Bakugo like it's no big deal. There's a reason he's the strongest of our school. I doubt even Bakugo could beat him in a one-on-one fight. Izuku's eyebrow twitched. Why are you people making things worse? He could practically feel the heat coming off from Bakugo and knew what would happen next. What a pain. Don't screw with me. Bakugo screamed as he sent a glowing fist at Izuku, who merely raised his hand and reflected the attack, so it wouldn't hit him, but it did hit Bakugo. Gah. With a sigh, Izuku lifted his head from the desk and stretched his limbs with a yawn, pretending he had been asleep and Bakugo just now woke him up. He gave the blonde a deadpan look. What are you doing? Bakugo sat up slowly. You fucking nerd. Izuku yawned, not even the bit intimidated by Bakugo as he would have in the past. I'm tired. Those guys are so mean to wake me up from my nap, and take away my peaceful oasis. Maybe in my next life I'll be a cat, so I can sleep for as long as I want." The whole class sweat dropped at the last part of his sentence. You think they would be used to Midoriya's sarcastic personality by now, but he always throws something new at them. "You think you're fucking funny." Bakugo yelled, threatening to use his quirk on Midoriya. Izuku meanwhile gave Bakugo a bored look. "You look like a porcupine." He didn't know why he never noticed it before, but Bakugo's hair really did make him look like a porcupine. Either that or a chihuahua, based on his personality. There was complete silence before snickering could be heard. The kids in the class couldn't help but agree that with as spiky as Bakugo's hair was, he really did look like a porcupine. Even his two sidekicks started snickering along with the rest of the class. Naturally, this pissed off Bakugo, obvious with how his hands were starting to glow and tiny explosions were heard. Before Bakugo could do anything though, the door to the classroom opened. "All of you take your seats," the teacher said. Everyone took their seats, even a glaring Bakugo who vowed inwardly to get even with Izuku. Izuku, of course, didn't really care and put his head down on the desk again, this time really trying to sleep in class. "I know this is sudden, but we have a new student," the teacher said suddenly. "You can come in." He turned to the door. The classroom door opened, and in came a young man with messy indigo hair which sticks out, and somewhat triangular purple eyes. His eyes have very dark bags underneath them, and he appears to lack visible eyelashes, and relatively tall. The boy stared at everyone with a stoic expression as if already bored, even though he just got here. "Why don't you introduce yourself?" the teacher said. With a tired sigh, the new student turned towards the board and wrote his name, then turned back towards the class. "Shinso Hitoshi, nice to meet you," he introduced. Izuku lifted his eyes up slightly and stared at the purple-haired teen with interest and noted something very interesting. Laid back, but stoic demeanor, just like the underground pro-hero Eraserhead. Izuku noted. Doing research on underground heroes who don't like the spotlight interested him, so he did his own investigation, ****, into the hero database and looked up some unknown pro-heroes from both the past and present. He never did get caught either, as he made sure his location was set up elsewhere. That way no one would be able to track down his signal. Then Shinso-kun, why don't you take your seat next to Midoriya? The teacher told him as Midoriya raised his hand slightly to alert Shinso who he was and where he should sit. Shinso raised a brow at the green-haired teen, but said nothing as he took his seat next to him and him a side glance. When he was filing the paperwork for this school, he'd heard some rumors about Midoriya Izuku, aka the absolute strongest. Just looking at him, though, one could see the boy looked hardly strong, or even dangerous for that matter, but he'd heard the name Midoriya Izuku before he came here. Japan hosts a shogi tournament live every year, and he remembered seeing Midoriya there for every one, and won all of them, too. Another rumor he heard about him was that he has a dual quirk that's said to be stronger than All Might, Endeavor, and some other pro-heroes, though of course they were just rumors and not everyone believed them, but those that did would always have a desire to meet him. Now here he was seeing the guy in person, watching his facial expression express just how bored he was and that he would rather look out the window than pay attention to class. Maybe talking to the guy won't be so bad, provided he's not stuck up and arrogant about his quirk. It was lunchtime and Izuku approached Shinso. Have you been around the school yet? Shinso blinked at the relaxed tone in his voice. No, I haven't. Then I'll show you around, Izuku told him. Follow me. And just like that, Shinso found himself being dragged by Izuku out the classroom and into the hallway to explore the school. As he was being dragged around by the strongest guy in school, he noticed the other students were whispering as they walked. He also noticed Izuku ignore them completely as he was more focused in showing him around the school. Normally, the disciplinary committee would show a new student around, but they're busy having a meeting right now, so you'll have to put up with me, Izuku said. It's fine, Shinso said tiredly. I'm surprised. I thought you'd be part of the disciplinary committee. They asked and I said no? Okay, now that was interesting. Why not? Shinso couldn't resist and asked. Izuku hummed in thought before giving his answer, because it would take away my personal time. Shinso raised a brow. Personal time? Izuku stopped walking, prompting Shinso to do the same. The green-haired and eyed boy slowly turned towards Shinso and gave a small smile. I'll take you there. When his tour guide said he'd take him to his personal time, he didn't realize this is what he meant. The rooftop breeze did feel good though. He had to give Izuku props for that. Speaking of Izuku, he was currently lying down on his back and staring up at the clouds which would cover the sun every once in a while as they drifted on by. "Do you come up here a lot?" Shinso asked, having sat down next to Izuku since he didn't feel like standing. Izuku made a satisfied noise before answering. "Yeah, the air up here feels nice, and I can get away from all the noise inside." Shinso could see nothing wrong with that at all. Really, he'd picture Midoriya Izuku to be the type that gets arrogant when deemed the strongest at their school, but so far he seems like a pretty laid-back guy. "Expecting something else?" Izuku said suddenly, taking Shinso by surprise. "What?" Izuku sighed and sat up. When people see the infamous Midoriya Izuku of Aldera Junior High, they're surprised to see me acting like a normal person. He made air quotes with his fingers. Shinso actually snorted at that. "They were probably expecting you to be arrogant with your quirk." "I couldn't act arrogant if I tried," Izuku snorted, "and I don't just have one quirk either." Shinso whipped his head towards him sharply. "Wait, what?" Izuku yawned. "I'm surprised you don't know. I thought rumors about me having two quirks were known by just about everybody." "No, I'd heard some rumors about it, but didn't think it was accurate. There were people known to have dual quirks, but they were rare. I'm guessing you're not the type to brag about your quirks, huh?" As if, Izuku scoffed softly. "That's Bakugo's department." "Bakugo? Ah, the porcupine." Snort. Izuku's shoulders were shaking as he tried, but failed to control the fit of giggles that were trying to escape, and was reduced to lying on the rooftop floor to try and control his laughter. Shinso blinked, clearly confused. "What?" Izuku heaved as he finally got his laughter under control. I literally just called him that. Not long after. You came in the classroom. Hearing it from someone else is just too damn funny." He heaved out as his laughter was finally under control. "You're a pretty cool guy," Izuku said honestly. A small blush tinted Shinso's cheeks at the compliment and made sure to turn his head away so Izuku wouldn't notice. He had to wonder, though, would Izuku still think that way if he ever found out about his quirk? "We should head back, unfortunately," Izuku said, standing up. "Yeah," Shinso agreed, getting up himself. As the two boys left the roof, one of them was still in deep thought about the other walking next to him. "Midoriya Izuku, what are you really like?" "Oi." Shinso was busy staring out the window while Izuku was sleeping with his head down on his desk when Bakugo Katsuki decided to strike up a conversation. If you could even call it that. The indigo-haired boy had only briefly met the guy, and he could already see why Izuku found him troublesome. His personality aside, Bakugo looked at everyone as though they were beneath him, something he detests greatly. He also noticed the constant antagonist attitude towards Izuku, who would either pretend to fall asleep or compare him to another animal with anger issues, but mostly Izuku would compare him to another dog, like a pit bull for example. With a reluctant sigh, he slowly turned to the explosion quirk user and gave him a deadpan look. "What?" Bakugo clicked his tongue at the drawled-out response. "What's your quirk?" At this point, Izuku opened his eyes slowly as he looked over at the two. Since the beginning, the purple-haired boy hadn't once talked about his quirk, and Izuku didn't pry about it either. It was something personal, and Izuku could respect that. But as for Bakugo, he doesn't even know what the word respect means. Shinso, meanwhile, gave Bakugo a cold glare that could freeze any herbivore in place. But unfortunately, Bakugo was no herbivore. "None of your damn business," he said coldly. Bakugo just smirked. "What? Is it a weak quirk? Then you better stay out of my way. Extra." Before Shinso could use his quirk on Bakugo, a small green electric pulse zapped near Bakugo's ear, making him curse and turn to the source. "Deku, you little..." Izuku didn't look the least bit scared. It was still interesting how he changed so much from what he used to be like in the past. But after that incident, he refused to back down towards anyone. Not even Bakugo. "You're being annoying," Izuku said simply. "If he doesn't want to tell you what his quirk is, then he doesn't have to. Stop being annoying already." "What was that you dash?" Izuku flicked his forehead hard enough to make Bakugo hold it while it was throbbing in pain. Izuku's facial expression remained impassive. "Like I said, stop being annoying already," he repeated again as he went back to sit down. "Oh, And if you even think about attacking me from behind, then I'll send you flying out the window, even though it's a pain." He muttered under his breath, taking his seat and putting his head back down on his desk. "Thanks," Shinso whispered, showing real emotion in his voice. Izuku gave him a lazy smile. "It doesn't matter what quirk you have. Quirks don't define a person." And with that he closed his eyes, falling back asleep, and didn't see that his words made an impact on Shinso. When classes were finally over, Izuku stretched both arms above his head and gathered his things, about to leave, or that was the plan anyway. Midoriya Izuku. He stopped all movement and saw the disciplinary committee president Kurosawa Yui. She had short light blue hair, wearing her trademark glasses, wearing the disciplinary committee armband with their school symbol on it. Don't let her appearance fool you. This is one girl you do not want to make angry. "Ah, President," Izuku greeted. Yui sighed. "Please come with me for a moment." Izuku looked over at Shinso for a moment. He promised he'd take the boy out to the arcade as a way of getting rid of stress. "I'll wait," Shinso told him. Izuku said nothing as he left the classroom with Yui. As soon as the door closed, though, the chatter started. She called him out again. "You think she's going to ask him to join the disciplinary committee again?" "Well, yeah, he should definitely join. I wouldn't be surprised if he became the next disciplinary committee president." "That's right. She'll be graduating this year, won't she?" Shinso listened to the chatter and wondered if Izuku really would join the disciplinary committee. He'd be a perfect fit for it, but he would probably find it to be a pain too. Speaking of Izuku, he and Yui were currently walking down the halls of the classroom having their own conversation. "As you know, I'm going to be graduating this year," she started. "Congratulations," Izuku told her, "but that's not what you wanted to tell me. Let's just cut to the chase, shall we, President?" She stopped walking and turned to him, her face full of determination. "Midoriya Izuku, I am hereby to inform you that you are a candidate for the next disciplinary committee president. What would be the appropriate reaction to this?" He gave her a dry look. "Sure there's nobody else you have in mind?" Yui crossed her arms with a small smile. "Hate to break it to you, but we took a vote, and you won unanimously. No one else within the committee wanted the position, and all agreed you were a perfect fit." "I'm having a hard time believing that," he stated. "It's the truth. Once again, I don't believe you." She sighed. "Listen, I understand you don't like stuff like this, but you really are the only one we trust to have the position." Izuku rubbed the back of his neck. "You know, if this was reversed, then Bakugo would be a choice." "Bakugo Katsuki was never even brought up," Yui informed. "And even if he was, I doubt the student population would consider him to replace me for obvious reasons." "Yeah, I'll think about it." He ended the conversation with that and left her standing in the hall with a small smile. "That's all I ask." "So it was decided that you'd be replacing Kurosawa Yui-san when she graduates?" Shinso questions. Izuku finished his popsicle and addressed the boy walking next to him. "I said I'd think about it, but odds are I'll probably turn it down." Shinso tossed his popsicle in the trash. "It's your choice, though I think it suits you." He received a deadpan look in response, making him snort a little. "What's with that face? Don't believe me? I just don't see myself as president material. It looks like too much work, not to mention dealing with difficult people." Izuku complained. "Bakugo Katsuki, huh?" Izuku turned to him slowly. "The two of you know he'll do nothing but give me a headache if I take the position, yet you still think I should do it." "Well, the guy is difficult. You're the only one to put him in his place," Shinso said, trying to find something positive about it. Izuku huffed. "Then you'll be the vice chairman." Shinso snapped his head in Izuku's direction quickly. "Wait, what?" "Then it's decided, you'll be my vice chairman." Izuku gave him a mischievous smile. Shinso merely sighed. "Don't I get a say in this?" "No." "Sneaky bastard. Misery loves company." Shinso was thinking of a way to get Izuku back for this without making it look like a crime scene. "You said you two quirks, right?" "Yeah, I never told you what they were, did I?" Izuku wondered. Shinso shrugged his shoulders. "You don't have to tell me." "It's fine. My quirks are electrokinesis and vector manipulation," Izuku told him. "Okay, I know electrokinesis lets you manipulate electricity, but what's vector manipulation?" Shinso hadn't even heard of that kind of quirk before. Izuku placed a finger to his chin. "How to explain this? I can manipulate the vectors of matter and its related energies. I can do a lot of damage with this quirk, so I don't use it very much unless I absolutely have to. It's that dangerous? Izuku huffed. Let's just say the Japanese government would label me as a threat if I suddenly decide to go on a killing spree. Shinso's blood froze at the thought of Izuku becoming a villain, but he understood what he meant. It's still a pretty cool quirk to have, compared to his. He stopped walking. This is it for me. I can walk the rest of the way here by myself. Izuku looked around the area for a few minutes before nodding. See ya. He walked away, leaving a very confused Shinso behind. Why was he looking around? Does he think this neighborhood is unsafe? Shinso thought. Back with Izuku, he wasn't going straight home like he should. Instead, he took to the alley knowing that it was dark enough, and that way no one would see him. He walked deeper and deeper into the darkness, feeling himself be swallowed up by it as he kept walking. The sound of an engine, then footsteps were soon heard. He knew who was following him and what they wanted. That's why he led them away from Shinso. Hopefully they won't try to break in the boy's house and use him as a hostage, hopefully. Around 17 individuals wearing black jackets and the insignia of some sort of species of spider got out of their van and followed the green-haired kid, being careful not to lose him, but alas they did. Find him. That little shit should still be around here. They started searching for Izuku but hadn't spotted him yet, which is strange because this alley was a dead end. So where the hell did he go? Before anything else was said, one of the guys screamed before falling to the ground. What the hell? Another scream was heard, and another one of them collapsed, making the others become more than a little frightened. What made this worse was the fact that they still didn't know if it was the boy they were following or not. Show yourself, you little shit, one of the men demanded. He was greeted with silence, and the darkness of the alley didn't make things any better. There was no sound. There weren't even any rats running around like usual. It was quiet. Too quiet. This is what one would call the calm before the storm. Izuku still stayed hidden within the shadows of the alley and slammed his fist into the wall, causing dents to appear before the invisible force hit 5 of the men, knocking them unconscious but not without injuries. Heek. What kind of quirk does that? He's going to kill us like he did with our guys back then. Shut up. That damn brat's not killing anyone. The next line of assault came upon them with no warning. Dink you, Electro Ball. Izuku announced his attack as 4 Electro Balls rained down on the rest of the men. Their cries of pain echoes throughout the alley's walls. Now there was only one remaining, the very same one who just a minute ago showed no fear, but things were different now. He slowly backed away. Where are you? You think you're so tough, huh? He yelled hysterically, darting his eyes around the silent alley. Then out of nowhere a hand shot out and grabbed him by the face, slamming him into the wall behind him. As he was pinned there by the hand, he realized that the person who had pinned him to the wall with just one hand was the very same boy he and his men were planning on attacking. Hey, why do you guys still do this? Izuku asked. The man said nothing, his fear dominating him over answering the question that was given to him. I wasn't expecting you to answer, Izuku said as green static surged around the very same hand that was pinning the thug to the wall, and I won't bother giving you a warning either, so I'll just say this. Slowly he lifted his head, revealing glowing green eyes. Come at me all you want. I'll still crush you. MPHF was the man's mumbled response, being unable to say anything else clearly due to the fact that Izuku had his hand around the man's mouth. Kinden, electrocution. And with those words the man knew only pain and a burning sensation. Izuku sighed as he walked out of the alley. Not long after he did, his phone started to ring. Caller ID, Ochaco. A smile graced his lips as he answered the phone. Hello? Don't hello me. I was expecting your call earlier. Ochaco's pouting voice graced him, making him chuckle. Sorry, there was something I needed to deal with before calling you. He told her. Like what? Oh, you know, just some spiders that needed to be squashed, that's all, he said nonchalantly. There was a sigh before she spoke again. They're still targeting you then. Are you okay? I'm fine, but these constant attacks on me are starting to get on my nerves, he said. You still haven't figured out where they're hiding out? Hatsum's been looking into it, but so far we don't have anything, Izuku explained. We could always just follow one of them into leading us to the others. but there's no telling how many will be lying there in wait. I thought the police force would have found their hideout and arrested them already. Ochaco sighed. No such luck with them either. If they did, then I could hack into their database and finish this already. He said. It seems that after Izuku's rage moment when he was younger, those of the Black Arachnid somehow found out he was the one that killed 2 of their men, while Neo Mesa killed the other one. After that, he had become a target for them constantly, and the only good thing about this was neither his mother nor Ochaco were targets. For now at least. That's why he needs to end this. Once and for all. How about you? They haven't been following me, and my parents said they haven't seen anyone suspicious lately either. He breathed a sigh of relief hearing that. Good. But still, how did they find out it was you? The news never reported your name. Simple. Either the police force has a leak or these guys use the streets as their information network. Izuku stated as a simple fact. So it could be either or both. Yeah. Oh yeah, I meant to tell you that a new student transferred into our class today. He brought up suddenly. Really? Boy or girl? Boy. His name is Shinso Hitoshi. Oh, it sounds like the name suits him. At that comment, Izuku smiled. Yeah, it does. Anyway, how was your day? It was good. I managed to work on my quirk a little more today and didn't puke. Until 5 minutes later. She said that last part depressingly. He huffed in amusement. Baby steps, I keep telling you. I know. He heard her whine on the other line. Izuku had never been more grateful to have her as a friend, and who knows, maybe in the near future the two of them could. When Izuku got his mom was understandably worried when he told her that he was once again followed by members of Black Arachnid. The bullet wound she got from one of them a long time ago had left a scar, but she didn't seem to mind it though. She even bragged about it being a battle scar, and Izuku had to stifle his laughter when she said that. A battle scar, huh? Only his mother. The next day, he noticed Shinso had been giving him subtle glances from time to time, and Izuku could tell the boy wanted to ask him about his strange behavior yesterday. He supposed he owed the boy an explanation. If by some chance, God forbid, those bastards find out where Shinso lived and tried to kidnap him or his family, or even harm them, then it would be his fault. When lunchtime finally came around, he made his decision to tell him everything. You were acting weird yesterday, Shinso stated. Izuku made a face, straight to the point. Somehow I'm not surprised. He thought. I was, but for a good reason. Shinso raised a brow. What do you mean? Do you get followed by fangirls or something? Heh, actually being followed by fangirls sounds better than being followed by wanted criminal gang. Izuku huffed. Shinso froze when Izuku mentioned wanted criminal gang and instantly thought of the number 1 gang on the list. You're kidding. I wish. Slowly, Shinso lowered his chopsticks, his full attention now on Izuku. How the hell? Izuku sighed. You remember a few years ago there was an attempted robbery in a convenience store where there's still people inside and being used as hostages? Did he know about it? Of course he knew about it. Hell, everyone knew about how 3 members of the Black Arachnid got their asses handed to them by a kid no less. Wait a minute. You mean? Izuku cut him off. The news didn't report everything. 2 members of the Black Arachnid weren't defeated. I killed them. Even now it still bothers him to this day. Sure, he didn't have nightmares about it anymore, but it still isn't pleasant to think about. He spoke again before Shinso could say anything. I don't remember doing it. When the female member shot my mom because she refused to let me be used as collateral, I sort of snapped. When I can too. I was in the hospital and they told me what happened. Shinso was quiet as he waited for Izuku to say all that he had to say, and because of that, those guys want payback. Izuku nodded. I don't know how they found out. My name wasn't mentioned, nor was my picture. So either the police force has a leak, or it's being going around the underworld network. Honestly though, I can believe both theories. You're taking this surprisingly well. Shinso shrugged. They shot your mom. Trust me when I tell you that if anyone had so much as done the same thing to my mom, I would torture them before killing them. Izuku could find nothing in that sentence to disagree with, for he agreed with him. Does it still bother you? Shinso asked. A little, Izuku admitted. The nightmares are gone. But you just can't forget about killing 2 people, even if it was technically self-defense. You know, there are times where I get scared of using my quirks because they could hurt or kill someone I care about. But when I close my eyes and think about what will happen to my loved one if I don't do something, I find myself wanting to understand and use it more for their sake. Something inside Shinso seemed to finally crack, but it wasn't a bad crack, no. It was a good crack. The cracking sound was the fear and rejection he had been bottling up for years due to other people's opinions about his quirk. Seno, brainwashing. HM. Shinso took a deep breath as he prepared to tell Izuku, someone who he hadn't even known all that long, about his quirk. It's the name of my quirk, he elaborated. When I found out what my quirk was and what it can do, I kept it to myself. But when it was time for me to start middle school, someone had found out what my quirk was and spread throughout the school, and I was kept isolated from everyone else. Izuku didn't say anything and simply listened. The kids kept saying since it was a villain's quirk, that means I'll become a villain, but I don't want to be a villain. I want to become a hero. Shinso confessed his dream to Izuku. After word got out about my quirk, I started getting harassed. The teachers there didn't bother to do anything about it because they didn't want to be bothered. It was bad. There were times where I would scare to come to school because there's no telling what they would do to me. The final straw was when someone wrote "villain" in bold black ink on my desk. Izuku wanted to electrocute all of his former middle school classmates, but opted against it, for they weren't even worth it. Shinso then let out a huff. My mom raised hell when she found out all of the abuse I went through, and my old man demanded why the principal didn't put a stop to the harassment. The principal tried to reason with them so they wouldn't sue the school, but my parents weren't having that. The school was forced to pay up, and the main instigators were punished harshly from what I was told. But after all that, I had to transfer to another school. Not that I was complaining because I couldn't wait to get the hell out of there. I bet, Izuku said, having finally spoke after just sitting there and listening the whole time. Thanks for sharing that. Don't mention it. You shared with me, so I thought I'd show you the same courtesy, Shinso said. Izuku laid down on his back, watching the clouds float by. If you want my opinion, I think your quirk is useful for a number of reasons. First off, you could brainwash a villain into becoming a hero. Second, you could use it to control crowds when there's a villain around causing trouble and people are practically tripping over themselves to get away. Lastly, you could help the police force with their interrogations. Shinso looked at Izuku in awe as he described the many useful things his quirk could do. He hadn't even thought about it before, believing his quirk to be dangerous to other people. But here Izuku basically sums up why his quirk is needed. My grandmother told me that we don't know why we are given the quirks that we have, but it's how we use them that define us as a person. Izuku quoted from his grandmother. Shinso looked up at the sky with a small smile. She sounds like a nice person, he said, deciding to take those words to heart. She is, Izuku agreed. She's also my favorite hero. Your grandmother was a hero? Yeah, but she liked to remain unknown, so not many people know about her. I kind of like underground heroes, though, Izuku admitted. Me too. I like Eraserhead, Shinso told him. Seriously? I like him too. His quirk aside, the guy's a good fighter. He is. That's why I've taken up martial arts, so I can be good at hand-to-hand combat and not rely on my quirk all the time, Shinso said. Same here, but my grandfather's been teaching me. Izuku shuddered slightly. He's brutal. Shinso, for the first time since he's come here, laughed. He laughed so hard, tears started gleaming in his eyes, and he was enjoying every minute of it. Location: Hatsum's secret base. In an abandoned warehouse that hadn't been used for ages, there were now various equipment stationed there and a lone figure hunched over by the computer. This individual was a girl with yellow eyes with crosshairs for pupils and pink locks that are styled asymmetrically, having two longer strands on the right side of her face. She was wearing protective goggles, fingerless gloves, and many of her other gadgets on her person. There was a sound from behind her, but she wasn't worried because she knew who it was. Hey, Izuku, she greeted. Izuku closed the door behind him as he walked in. Hey, Hatsum. Mao, I told you to call me May. May complained. And I told you that I prefer calling you your surname, he said. May huffed, but didn't complain about it anymore. Hear about the black arachnid again? He nodded. Have you found anything? I have some good news for you. She grinned. After long hard hours and 2 days without sleep, I've finally found the hideout. It had been a real pain to find anything about the Black Arachnid gang nowadays because of the attempted robbery incident years ago. They'd gone underground and stayed hidden there, only coming out to try and assault Izuku, but failing miserably, and then go into hiding again. May had been working nonstop to try and find out where the bastards were hiding after they'd tried to hurt Izuku the first time. She had met both Izuku and Ochaco during both teens' second years of middle school and her second year of technical school. When she saw Izuku and Ochaco's quirks for the first time, she instantly wanted to make some equipment for them, as well as make their costumes. Naturally, the two were taken back by her assertive personality, but otherwise agreed that her babies would definitely come in handy. So of course the first thing she made for them both was untraceable earpiece communicator, and it came in handy when some members of Black Arachnid had been stalking Izuku, and he used the earpiece to alert Ochaco to stay away while he handled them, and boy did he handle them. Hatsum was impressed with the destruction to the deserted street he caused. Both of his quirks, vector manipulation and electrokinesis, were simply amazing. She was still working on his hero costume and hoped he liked it. It was her best work yet. "Good," he said, his tone promising pain. "They can't get to Ochaco, but they can get to Shinso since they saw us walking home together." She gave him a folder with plenty of information on it. "Not only did I manage to find their base of operations, but I also got some background information on the most important individuals in the group." Izuku opened the folder and saw a picture of a man with purple hair with green streaks and a wild look. Saito Akihisa. Age, 36. Quirk, pyrokinesis. Position, lieutenant. Hatsum described. "Don't let his appearance fool you. There's a reason he's ranked lieutenant. Back when the group was first active publicly, he burned down a whole neighborhood without any sort of hesitation because he didn't want a witness to testify against him." "What happened to the witness and everyone else within the neighborhood?" he asked. 26 deaths, 13 critical condition, 9 with non-too severe burns. She listed off. "Scum." Izuku growled lowly. "The guy's completely ruthless. He puts Endeavor to shame," she said. "Damn right," he thought. "Anyone who makes Endeavor look tame compared to them has to be someone to be taken seriously." Flipping the next page, he saw a woman with red hair, with calm silver eyes. Suzuki Hina. Age, 27. Quirk, geokinesis. Position, sublieutenant. She's another dangerous one, this girl. She used her quirk to bring down 2 large buildings, just like that. The deal toll was too large, just like the injured. If I didn't know otherwise, I thought she was the leader. She explained. "You're not the only one," he said, flipping to the last page, and saw a man with a confident smirk on his face. He had wavy brown hair and blue eyes that showed his confidence. "And finally, we have the leader of the group. Adachi Go. Age, 33. Quirk, air manipulation. Position, leader. This guy's been leading the group since he was a teenager. He's got more body counts on him more than anyone else in the group, and since he started Black Arachnid as a teenager, that body count's gone up," she explained with a slight grimace. There were villains who didn't hesitate to kill, but his guy was on a whole different level from the more serious villains. Hell, the guy even killed an innocent kid for merely seeing his face at the scene of a crime he committed. Izuku gave the picture a cold stare before closed the folder. "Thanks, Hatsum. Sorry for making you do this." She waved off his apology. "It's fine. It's fine. I may be a technician, but I'm also good at gathering information. Never forget that." "Yes, yes." Izuku waved as he walked away, provided with the new information he got from Hatsum. It was time to end this, once and for all. As he was walking away from Hatsum's secret hideout, there was a mysterious individual watching him leave. The shadows carefully obscured this individual's face, but not their voice. Subject found. Proceeding to make contact, unit serial number 1 states. The individual said, voice sounding male. "Darts?" Izuku said as once again he and Shinso were on the roof. Shinso put the dart away. "Yeah, I've been thinking about using them as weapons along with something else, but this will do for now." "Sounds reasonable. You might find yourself in a situation where your quirk stops working all of a sudden, and you need something other than hand-to-hand combat to protect you." Izuku could agree with having a weapon in case of something going wrong. He needed to get one himself. "By the way, I noticed I was being followed today." Izuku snapped his eyes open quickly, but showed no reaction other than that. Did you see who? I couldn't see their face very well, but they were wearing black jackets that looked like it has some sort of insignia on it. It looked like some sort of insect. The blue-haired boy described. That confirms it. Black Arachnid knows where Shinso lives, and the fact they were following him means they were planning to use him as a hostage to get to him. That was the final straw. He had no choice but to deal with them. Tonight. I wouldn't worry about it, Shinso. Izuku sat up and walked away. You won't be seeing them again. With those parting words, he left the school roof, unaware of Shinso's eyes on his back. Izuku put a finger to the communicator. Hatsum, it's going down tonight. Gotcha. I'll get ready. Right. He turned the device off, keeping his expression calm despite the raging storm within him. Now you've made me mad. Izuku called his mom, letting her know he was going to be out late, and told her not to worry, for he promised her he wouldn't be out very long. In truth, he was going to the Black Arachnid's base to finish things once and for all. The sound of screeching tires assaulted his ears as he spotted a black van out of the corner of his eye and knew it was Black Spider. Without even looking, he blocked the black van from slamming into him, messing up the front, but making sure to keep those within the vehicle alive. He might be really angry with them right now, but he wasn't going to kill them. Walking over by the bent door, he ripped it off and threw it at the wall behind him and saw 4 people within the van. The front driver made a sound of fear as he practically ripped the car door off. You'd think I'd be surprised that you just tried to kill me using a car, but I'm not. A gang of killers will be just that. Killers, Izuku said, grabbing the driver by the face before throwing him against the wall, but made sure to hold back so he wouldn't kill him. Turning back to other 3 passengers, one of them pulled out a gun and started shooting at Izuku, but due to his ability to manipulate vectors, they bounced right off of him and ended up hitting the shooter, getting him in the arm and shoulder. Without hesitation, Izuku grabbed him by the face, slammed him to the ground before stomping on him with his foot to knock him out. He turned to the last 2 passengers and saw they tried to escape, but he electrocuted them before they could get too far. Both men fell to the ground, but only one of them was conscious, so Izuku grabbed him by the back of the head and interrogated him. I'm going to take a wild guess here and say your leader Go told you to do this, right? The man made a noise. How do you know boss's name? He let go of the man's head. You guys have been trying to kill me since my first year of middle school. Did you really think I wouldn't be doing any background information after all this time? It shouldn't even be surprising at this point. The man started grinning. Even if you know our boss's name, he'll still kill you. What can some brat like you do on his own? Before Izuku could respond to that, another voice entered the scene. He's not alone. Looking up, he saw it was Shinso, giving the conscious man a glare. Izuku was understandably surprised. Why are you here? Shinso gave him an apologetic shrug. Sorry, but I have to get involved now because these guys decided to try and take us hostage. Didn't work though. What? The down man exclaimed. Izuku got what Shinso meant. Where are they now? On their way to the police station, going on their own 2 feet. Shinso said with a smirk. What the hell? What kind of quirk did you use on them? The man demanded. Izuku knocked the man out. Go to sleep. He then looked at Shinso. I'm sorry for getting you involved. Shinso shrugged. I was going to get involved sooner or later. Just thought I'd be prepared before that happened though. Shinso. Izuku didn't find this whole thing amusing. It's fine, Shinso told him. I'm not helping you deal with them because you helped me, but because you're my friend. Izuku blushed at the bold statement, but relented as he gave a small smirk. Your quirk. How many can you brainwash all at once? Up to 20, but that's my limit. Good enough. Izuku left the downed men as he and Shinso were on their way to deal with the Black Arachnid and put an end to this. Location base of the Black Arachnid, 8:43 p.m. Gotook chugged down his last can of beer as he waited for his men to report. He had already made his move to use that kid Shinso Hitoshi as a hostage in order to get back at that kid Midoriya Izuku. Ever since that incident years ago, he'd been planning and waiting for the right time to have a showdown with him. He started out slow, sending some of his members to follow the kid as he started his first day of middle school. Then he'd order them to deal with him however they wanted, by leaving bruises on the kid, but leaving him alive. But that hasn't been working out too well, as members of the police force would get an anonymous tip as to where to find the defeated member of Black Spider, but not tell them who took them out. This kid had allies that he had hidden in the shadows, just like him. He had a source from the underground network about how it was just a small kid, Midoriya Izuku, that killed two of his members. A detective by the name of Naomi Satsukachi shot and killed the female member of the group to protect the two kids. He was going to have some of his men kidnap Ochaco Uraraka, but opted out. Besides, his influence hasn't reached that far yet despite having created this group when he was just 16. They're taking their time, it seems, Hina said, stating the obvious. No shit, dollface, Akihisa said flatly. Having finished his beer, the leader of the Black Arachnid crushed the can in his hand before tossing it aside and standing up. If they're not here by now, it means they got their asses handed to them. Damn, what information did we get about their quirks? Akihisa asked. Not much. Rumor has it the green-haired kid's got 2 quirks, and I don't know what kind of quirk the blue-haired kid has. Go answered. Hina narrowed her eyes, a dual quirk user. A rare find. KEH, doesn't matter to me if the brat has 3 quirks. He's gonna pay for what he did to Jin and the others. Akihisa snarled, eager to burn the kid alive. You aren't the only one who wants to make him pay, Hina reminded coldly. Go smirked, we'll all get our payback. You can count on that. Just then the light to the base went out, making all the members look around in confusion. A blackout. No, this was planned. The fuck? Akihisa said, sounding confused. Go kept his smirk in place. Looks like the kid decided to come to us this time. Hina looked around, causing a blackout to confuse us before striking within the shadows. Clever. Gunshots were then heard in the dark as the small spark of light that gave the 3 strongest members in the group a sign that the lower members started shooting randomly in the dark like a bunch of idiots. What the fuck are you morons doing? Akihisa yelled. Fools, Hina said flatly. Go was about to tell the dumbass to knock it off when the lights came back on, and he saw about 17 of their members were on the ground clutching bullet wounds, while those who were still conscious still had guns in their hands with blank expressions. As the blank members set their guns towards the 3 of them, Hina used her quirk to make the earth beneath them move so they would lose their balance. And it worked, for they lost their balance and were knocked out cold. What the actual fuck? Akihisa walked over to the knocked out members, poking them with his foot. It would appear they were being manipulated before I made them lose consciousness, Hina said, once again stating the obvious. Go started chuckling. Kid's already taken half of us out just like that. Not bad. The sound of a speaker got their attention as all 3 looked around for the source. Testing 1 2 3. Can you hear me, Black Arachnid members? Good. Sorry about this, but we're going to have to beat you guys up for trying to hurt our friend and kidnapping the other one. Nothing personal. Akihisa sneered, these fucking brats. It would appear they are delusional into thinking they can beat us, Hina said. Shall we show them why they are inferior to us? Go smirked. Sounds interesting. If they want to play this game their way, then we'll humor them. Split up. This kid's friends must be with him. TCH, pain in the ass, Akihisa complained. Might as well get it over with. Hina sighed softly. Go waited for the 2 of them to leave as he decided to wait right where he was. He knew that Izuku kid would come right for him, so he wouldn't have to wait for very long for the kid to show up. Waiting for me. Go jumped back quickly as he heard a voice behind him and saw the very same kid he was waiting for. The hell? Izuku stood there, hands in his pockets, but had his guard up. Don't look so surprised. You stayed here purposely to wait here for me, right? The blue-eyed male chuckled as he got in a standing position. Well, aren't you full of surprises? So I've been told. Izuku gave him a hard stare. Are we done talking? Now you don't want to talk? I thought you'd have something to say. Go had forced himself to remain calm as a shot of green lightning nearly hit his head, but missed, though just barely. Izuku wasn't in the talking mood, it seems. I've got nothing to say. Go grinned. Looks like it. With Shinso and Akihisa. Shinso had been playing with some of his darts as he waited for someone to find him. It would either be that Akihisa guy or that Hina girl. If it turns out his opponent would be that Akihisa guy, then he chose right when he decided to be around a bunch of crates that had some interesting stuff inside of them. He had to plan this carefully, and given what information he knows about the guy, Everything should go just as he planned it. Well, look at what I found, a crazed voice said as it walked closer to Shinso's location. Looks like I found me a little kitten. Shinso's eyes bore into the man, Sato Akihisa. Huh? Akihisa grinned widely. So you've heard of me? Though from the looks of it, you're not a fan. I don't idolize someone who likes to burn people to death for the fun of it, Shinso said, giving the man a hard glare. Huh. People die every day, kid. And besides, I kill because people don't seem to get the program, Akihisa said. Shinso got out some darts. You really are scum. Akihisa's hands were already on fire. Your opinion, kid. He shot 2 fireballs in Shinso's direction, but the teen jumped out of the way and threw 3 darts at him. But Akihisa set them ablaze. Like that's gonna war. The 3 darts exploded, sending him stumbling back a little. What the actual fuck? Explosive darts, Shinso said. They're effective. He made a mental note to thank Hatsum for her quick work on his darts. She works quick. Akihisa snarled at him. Don't get arrogant, you little shit. He charged at Shinso quickly, sending a kick to the boy's head, but Shinso just barely ducked, but he did quickly lash his leg out, tripping the man, but he regained his balance quickly. Didn't take him long to recover. This guy's body is heavy, meaning if he'd actually kicked me, I would have been sent flying. Shinso observed his opponent carefully. This guy might be crazy, and his fighting style is more of a street brawler than a real fighter, but he's still pretty good. No wonder he's ranked lieutenant. Heh, not bad, kid, Akihisa complimented. Hey, why not use your quirk? Unless you need a certain condition to activate it, and I'm not giving you a chance to. Shinso smirked inwardly. Best not to use a trump too early. He took out more darts. More of those damn things? Whatever. I'll just incinerate you along with those damn toys of yours. Akihisa sent a fire ring at Shinso, who dodged and kept dodging when the man wouldn't let up. What's wrong? Why not use your quirk? He taunted. Shinso for the first time smirked openly, making Akihisa frown. But why would I waste my time using it on a moron like you? A tick mark appeared on Akihisa's forehead. What was that, you little sure dash? He didn't get the chance to finish his sentence as his eyes became white and no more words were said. He was under Shinso's control now. Looks like it was time to use my trump card, Shinso said as he approached Akihisa. See, my quirk allows to control those who respond to my statement. I didn't activate it before because there was no need to, but now is the right time to use it. He explained to the brainwashed Akihisa. You know what? When Izuku told me how you wouldn't hesitate to kill others with your quirk, I was almost tempted to order you to commit suicide by using your quirk on these crates that are filled with explosive powder, but didn't go through with it. The last thing I want is to really be called a villain, he said, walking past Akihisa before stopping at the entrance. You guys should really be aware of what you have stored here in this hideout of yours. He threw one of his explosive darts at one of the crates and watched as it exploded, sending Akihisa flying backwards and slammed into a wall. He was already unconscious when he hit the ground. With a sigh, Shinso walked away, leaving the man there on the ground. 1 down, 2 to go. Can't believe I got out of that situation unscathed. Better not take my luck for granted. With Hatsum and Hina. Hatsum was humming a tune as she waited for her opponent to show up. Now, normally one would be on edge knowing they will be going up against someone with an earth quirk that can kill up to hundreds, but Hatsum wasn't like most people. She was excited, and why was she excited? Simple. Because she had been working on something new, and now she got to try it out. She was currently wearing her very own battle suit, but not some clunky armor, but something that felt like a second skin to her. Think of Mocha Kiryu's black suit. She was also wearing a black helmet to match. Oh, you're finally here, she exclaimed happily. The ground started to move as a figure slowly emerged from the ground. Hina raised a brow at the girl. You were able to sense me? Not really. I just knew you were here. Hatsum lied. The suit had heat sensors installed, so she knew the woman was here. Hina stared at Hatsum as though she were insane. What a strange child you are. Do you not understand the situation you are in? Or are you just that foolish? Hatsum brought a finger to her chin. Nope. So let's fight. Hina shook her head at the delusional girl. I'll make your death quick and painless. The ground lifted as she sent earth spikes at Hatsum. Hatsum grinned from her helmet and pointed what appeared to be a megaphone at the spikes, and then clicked a button, sending a wave of sound at Hina. The woman grabbed both her ears as she lost concentration of the spikes, as they crumbled like dirt. What is this? Hina yelled as she grit her teeth through the pain. You like it? Hatsum asked. This is Soundwave version 1. Taking an ordinary megaphone, I recreated it into a weapon that most people won't think too much about it. She explained as Hina fell to her knees, still holding onto her ears. I made this not too long ago, so I haven't gotten the chance to test out my new baby yet. But thanks to you now I have that chance. Hina said nothing as she was down on her knees grunting in pain, as she used me as a guinea pig to see what it can do. What a dangerous girl. If this keeps up, she'll pass out. I have to get away. Ignoring the pain, she screamed as she planted both hands on the ground and created a hole. Once she did that, she leaped in the hole and retreated. Hatsum stopped using his new baby for a second before walking over to the hole. Oh, so she can create tunnels to get away too? That's amazing. As Hatsum was busy complimenting the girl on her impressive use of her quirk, Hina kept using the tunnel she created to get as far away from the pink-haired girl as possible. She hadn't expected the girl to be so dangerous, taking a common megaphone and turning it into a weapon that can be effective against quirk users. And she's just a child. She came out of the tunnel but still stayed within the base, just went somewhere else to strategize on how to deal with the girl. First thing I need to do is destroy that modified weapon of hers. She started to think about how to use her quirk to take the brat off guard before destroying that damn megaphone. Found you, Hatsum sang as she popped her head out of the hole Hina made. Hina turned to the girl quickly. She followed me? She didn't get the chance to attack the girl because Hatsum lashed out a kick and she had to block the kick with both arms, sending her flying as a result, much to her surprise. Just what is that suit of hers made of? It doesn't look all that strong at first glance, but the force behind her kick isn't to be underestimated. She readjusted herself and stared the girl down. Hatsum nodded her head with a hum. A strong quirk and durable body. You really are the perfect person to test my babies on. Hina sneered at her. Know your place. She slammed her foot down and a chunk of the floor was sent at Hatsum, who used her megaphone to block the attack, and it worked. But that was what Hina had been hoping for. As if teleporting, she kicked the megaphone out of the girl's hand. Now you have no weapon to protect yourself with. Pay for your arrogance in the afterlife dash. A knee to the gut cut her off from what else she was about to say and sent her flying across the room, slamming her into the wall. As she landed on the hard ground in too much pain to move, she didn't understand how the girl suddenly had good reflexes. How? She gasped out. Hatsum approached her downed form. The megaphone wasn't the only baby I brought with me. This battlesuit of mine is also one of my babies. What? Heat sensors, tracking, enhancements, and reflexes to match. Hatsum explained the suit's capabilities. But like I said before, I hadn't gotten to test it out yet in order to know what it's capable of. But thanks to you now I know what my baby can do. Thank you. Hina had to let out a huff at the current situation. Ah, I see. Even though we are far superior to these children, they still defeated us because they know what we are capable of. From the very start, it was our loss. And with that final thought, she lost consciousness, accepting her defeat. Hatsum sighed as she took off her helmet. Phew, she certainly was strong. The way she used her quirk was really impressive. Hatsum. She addressed the one calling her. Hey, Shinso. How did yours go? No, he inspected him for injuries, but found none. Since I don't see any bruises on you, that means my baby was helpful. Yeah, thanks again for the quick upgrade. He thanked. I used my quirk in the end, though, but I'm not complaining for it came in handy and allowed me to win over him. He saw the unconscious woman on the floor. You took her down just that fast? I thought she'd be the hardest to take down. My babies should never be underestimated. She states. Ma'am, yes ma'am, Shinso said dryly. Now that just leaves the leader of the pack. There was a loud booming sound that practically shook the base they were in. It had to be coming from where Izuku and the leader was. Sounds like they've started, Hatsum said. Sounding serious for the very first time, Izuku won't hold back on the leader. He can't afford to. Shinso looked at her. You said the guy manipulates wind, right? Think Izuku can handle him? He can. She gave him a grin. He makes the impossible possible. With Izuku and Go. To say this fight was lasting longer than expected was obvious. Go wasn't expecting the kid to even last that long against his quirk, but he was proven wrong. The kid was good when it came to hand-to-hand combat, but he's had more experience, so his blows should be doing some damage, but so far he's only had both of his arms almost broken. Just what was this kid's second quirk? Both combatants jumped back from each other, simply observing the other's movements. Go had to say this, though. He was impressed with the kid's skills. If things were different, the kid would be a member of Black Arachnid with skills like his. I gotta say, kid, I'm impressed. Go said honestly. If things were different, you'd be an honorary member of the Black Arachnid. Not interested. Izuku refused immediately. The air user chuckled, rejected outright. Huh? Are we really that bad? You kill without hesitation, Izuku stated. All amusement was gone from Go's face as he frowned. Not at first, kid. When I first started the gang, we were originally just a bunch of vigilantes trying to help out our community our own way, not wanting to rely on those heroes all the time. We didn't discriminate either. It didn't matter if you were quirkless or not. You had a place here so long as you with us. Izuku said nothing as he listened. But some of the heroes got jealous of us getting more appreciation from the community than them and outed us as a gang that was trying to take the heroes' jobs. His voice had a bitter tone, but in reality, they didn't want a bunch of troublemakers looking good to the public and showing them up. We ignored it at first, until one of the pro-heroes decided to make an example out of us. He said, barely holding the cold fury in his voice. You know of Endeavor, kid? Who doesn't? Izuku said. He's ranked the number 2 pro-hero, if you can even call him that. Heh, not a fan of him either, huh? Smart choice, Go said. I didn't start this gang alone, you know. I started it with my younger brother Satoshi. Brother? Hatsum didn't mention the leader had a brother. It was probably hidden information. We did everything together. Even when we decided to start up Black Arachnid, it was still a choice we made together, Go explained. When Endeavor found our first hideout, my brother Satoshi decided to act as decoy and let us escape. I hadn't gotten that far when we started running away, but I saw and heard everything. He clenched his fists and his whole body shook. That bastard. Even after Satoshi said he had no intention of fighting and would listen to any negotiation. That son of a bitch. He burned my brother alive, without hesitation. Izuku's eyes narrowed in disgust at the new information. He knew Endeavor was an asshole, but to kill someone just because he can made him sick to his stomach. He didn't deserve to be a pro-hero. Go calmed down, but he was still full of hate. My brother was all I had. And he took him away from me. Just like that. His eyes became cold this time. After that, I decided to declare war on all pro-heroes. I've killed a few of them too, and I don't feel bad about it. They killed my brother, so I'll kill anything they hold dear to them. Izuku's eyes became shadowed by his bangs as he spoke. I think I understand you a little better now. For the longest time, I figured the Black Arachnid gang didn't start off as bad as everyone assumed, and you proved me right. You were only trying to help people with your own strength, a place to call your own. Black Arachnid became that safe haven for those who felt like they didn't belong. And it was because you and your brother. He then lifted his head, showing his green glowing eyes. But I can't forgive all of the innocent people you've killed because of your hatred for pro-heroes. Also, if your brother could see you now, he would be disappointed in you. He wouldn't want you to use his death as an excuse to start walking down this path you've started. Go used his air quirk to start creating some wind. Don't act like you know everything, kid. What the hell do you know about my brother? Izuku took out an arcade coin and flipped it in the air. You need some sense knocked into you. I'm sure your brother won't mind if I do that for him in his place, he said, as he lifted up his left arm. Go created a large air ball with both hands. Nothing personal, kid. You know how it is, right? The strong devour the weak. And with that, he sent the air ball at Izuku. Izuku closed his eyes. You've been in the darkness long enough, so let me pull you out. The arcade coin fell from the air as green electricity surged throughout his body. Chodinjaho, Raregan, Super Electromagnetic Cannon, Railgun. He fired the railgun cannon at Go and watched as it tore right through the airball he'd created and slammed right into the leader of the Black Arachnid, sending him flying backwards, creating smoke as the man was slammed into the wall. Izuku walked over to the down and defeated Go and saw a smile on the man's face as though he were content. For some reason, he felt content himself. Maybe it was because he'd heard the man's story and the reason why he created Black Arachnid in the first place. He didn't hate the man for feeling the way he did towards the pro-heroes and Endeavor, but he couldn't let the man continue what he was doing. Hopefully, this would wake him up. Izuku. He was pulled from his thoughts as he saw both Hatsum and Shinso standing there looking okay from what he could tell. With a sigh, he turned to them completely. Guess that means we all came out of his unscathed. It was touch and go for me, Shinso said, making sure his darts were still in his pockets. That guy was a complete psychopath. My quirk really is useful. I got to test my babies out on that Hina woman, and it was a success. Hatsum grinned. Somehow I feel a little sorry for the woman. Izuku muttered. Same. So how was the leader? Shinso asked, looking at the defeated man in slight awe. He had no idea Izuku could do something like this with his quirk. Izuku looked back at the man's content smile. I think that in the end, you never really know a person until you fight them. Shinso and Hatsum were about to comment on that, but heard sirens in the distance, startling them. We need to go, Shinso said as all three of them ran through the back door of the base. But Izuku sent one last look at Go before leaving. I won't let your brother's death go unpunished, he thought as they successfully left the base and managed to avoid the police force. Phew, we made it out, Hatsum said, stretching both arms above her head. I'm a little sweaty from all that running. Change when you get home, not out here, Shinso told her dryly, as he saw her trying to practically rip her suit off. Izuku huffed in amusement. We should all get home. I know my mom's worried even though I told her I was going to be out late with a friend. Told my mom the same thing, Shinso said, eyeing Izuku. Izuku smiled. Thanks, both you. Hatsum grinned and Shinso smiled. Let's go home. We've had a long night. Yes, it seems you have. A new voice entered the fray, making the three teens go on the offensive. Within the shadows of the alley, footsteps were heard as the newcomer emerged from the shadows. What was visible was the green hair that matched Izuku's perfectly, same green eyes, and freckles. The only difference was the black jacket the boy was wearing, matching jeans, and shoes, says Unit Number 1 to Big Brother and his friends. Izuku's heart sped up as he stared into a face that was identical to his own. Just what the hell was he dealing with? And Big Brother? Last he checked, he didn't have any siblings, let alone a twin. Who are you? He said slowly, waiting to see what the copy would do. The copy answered, Serial number 1. It's a pleasure to finally meet you, Big Brother. Izuku still couldn't believe what he was seeing. Serial number, a clone? But who? What appears before Izuku is not another enemy, yet a clone made in his own image. In Germany, there is a secret laboratory that was used for secret projects that wasn't known to the German government, but it wasn't a problem for those who wanted to keep it that way. Within this certain lab, there were two researchers that were watching over a certain incubator that was big enough to hold a human inside. The orange liquid glowed in the dark as a single person within the incubator slept with tubes connected to it as the monitors tracked heart, blood pressure, and other important things. One of the female researchers smiled at the sleeping figure. Aw, look how cute he is. It's hard to believe he's the same age as his older brother now. How old is he again? The second female researcher had long black hair that was in a low ponytail, sporting glasses, and wearing the standard lab coat, but wore casual clothing underneath it. 5, I believe. Also, it's not that hard to believe, is it? We've been watching over him and the rest of the units for a while now. Out of all of the clones, the first unit was given special care because of how it developed 2 Esper abilities just like the original. It's kinda sad though, the brown-haired researcher said, smiling sadly. He won't be able to go outside unless given permission. The black-haired female researcher made a hum of agreement. I wouldn't worry about him. We've called in a brain specialist to help with the basic information he would need to know before going outside. The drug we originally gave him won't last, but as for other things, well, it's up to his brother to deal with that. I see. It'll be time for him to wake up soon. Are you ready? Yes. As the 2 women left to go prepare, the individual within the incubator opened his eyes in preparation for the new world he was about to see. Izuku stared at his clone with obvious confusion. Who the hell would even clone him to begin with, and why him? So many questions, and yet no one was here to answer them. And what makes this more strange is the fact that the clone called him Big Brother. He wasn't really sure how he was supposed to feel about that. Whoa, Hatsum was already in front of the clone, poking it with interest. This is amazing. I've heard rumors about how human cloning was possible, but I've never seen one up and personal before. The clone merely gave Hatsum a blank stare. Your reaction is normal considering the mere thought of human cloning was merely a speculation until now, states Unit Number 1 to the curious female. He stated, his voice monotone. Shinso meanwhile was trying to figure out if he was losing his mind due to his fight with Akihisa. Okay, so I'm not the only one seeing this. Izuku has a clone that just appeared out of nowhere and called him Big Brother like it was the most normal thing in the world. And yet here Hatsum is poking him with that grin on her face. Izuku closed his eyes and took a deep breath as he tried to process what was happening in front of him right now. Hatsum will be Hatsum. But as for my clone, I'm still trying to figure out who created him. I can't think of anyone. Really? Shinso asked. Izuku nodded, positive. I didn't even know human cloning was possible. I mean, they've been cloning animals, but humans? I still can't believe it either, but you can't deny that your clone is standing right here in front of you right now. Shinso said, still in disbelief of the fact that his friend had been cloned. So, what are you going to do? Even if you ask me, it was a good question though. What was he going to do? From the looks of it, the clone wasn't interested in fighting them, nor did he seem hostile. If anything, he was calm and very observant with his surroundings. Big Brother? He snapped out of it when two green identical eyes peered into his own, making him jerk his head back a little. Are you all right? Asks Unit Number 1, showing his concern for his older sibling. Shinso's sweat dropped. Are you talking like that on purpose? Izuku's clone addressed him. I talk like this because it comes natural to me, explains Unit Number 1. Right. Izuku meanwhile sighed and rubbed his temples. Okay, how about for now I just bring you to my house so I can try and figure this all out. The clone looked excited. I will finally be able to live with Big Brother as I have always dreamed, says Unit Number 1, showing his excitement to spend time with Big Brother. Aw, he wants to spend time with his Big Brother. That's so sweet. Hatsum grinned. This just gets weirder and weirder. Shinso groaned, feeling a headache coming on. Out of nowhere, the clone stumbled forward, but Izuku caught him. What's wrong? What happened? His clone was looking fine just a minute ago, so what was wrong? The clone snuggled into Izuku's warmth. It would appear I am still very tired after my long trip from Germany to Japan, Unit Number 1 states as he drifts into a peaceful sleep. And with that he fell asleep, still being held by Izuku. Germany? He came all the way here from Germany to Japan just to meet you? Shinso wondered if he'd heard that right. That's what he said. Hatsum said. Izuku meanwhile rubbed the clone's head. He might be a little freaked out about having a copy of him, but he was harmless, so maybe having him around won't be so bad, right? I'm going to take him home, Izuku said, setting his clone on his back. You guys should go home too and get some sleep. Sounds good to me. Shinso yawned. You'll explain this tomorrow, right? When I get some answers, yeah? Izuku promised him. Hatsum stretched again. Well, off we go. All three teens, plus one clone, left the area to head off to their homes to get some much-needed rest. Izuku meanwhile would deal with this whole clone nonsense tomorrow. Right now, it was time for sleep. Innocent green eyes blink as the individual was finally released from the orange liquid that housed him. The person in question was bare as a newborn baby, with green hair that reached his shoulders. He's even more cute up close and personal like this. The brown-haired female researcher smiled gently at the now-awakened boy. Honestly, stop treating him like he's a newborn. Well, I guess in this case he would be a newborn to this world, the black-haired female researcher said as she stared at the boy. The boy looked around curiously before bursting into tears, taking the brown-haired woman off guard. Oh no. It's okay, don't cry. She comforted, getting the orange stuff out of the boy's hair with a towel as he quieted down. Like I said, the drug we originally gave him to install basic information within the brain didn't last. His mental state is that of a newborn, meaning he can't talk, walk, or even understand our language, the black-haired researcher described in detail. All of that progress would have to be started all over again. This is his first time out into the real world. I see. Well, it's to be expected really. The brown-haired woman said. I mean, he's been in the incubator for what feels like a long time now, and they did say the drug wouldn't last long, so it's only natural he would become like this. Hopefully this time, when we hook him up to that machine, the transferred information will last. Don't worry. It will, the black-haired woman said. Let's go. Now that he's awake, he can inform Dr. Kiyama of his awakening. Then we can move on to the data transplant. Right. The clone was now hooked up to a machine that was created for the sole purpose of implanting basic information within the brain. The machine was in the form of a capsule that was large enough for a normal person to fit in, and also transparent, so the researchers could see within it. A helmet was on the clone's head, which was also connected to a bunch of tubes and wires. I know we've already gone through this in the briefing, but what exactly does this machine do again? The brown-haired researcher asked. The black-haired female sighed. Pay attention, Kiyomi. Yes, I'm sorry, Kuzukabe. Kuzukabe sighed. This machine is what's known as a Gakushu Sochi testament. It's used to install basic information within the human brain, like how to talk, motor skills, eat properly, and say a proper greeting. There's one in Japan, too, and so far the only two countries that are in possession of a testament are Japan and Germany. We couldn't use it before due to some disagreement, but we have it now. Wow, I had no idea. Was Dr. Kiyama the one responsible for creating it? Kiyomi asked. No. From what I understand, she was only given the information and how to use it. I'm not sure who the creator was. He hasn't said anything about it either. Kuzukabe sneered at the mention of the man in charge of the cloning project. Kiyomi frowned at the mention of the man, too. She could only pray these clones won't be used for something he thought up, and that they'll be able to see the original. Izuku sighed as he shifted his clone on his back so he could open the door to his apartment. He could practically hear the clone's heartbeat through his back. The constant thumping sound was a dead giveaway, letting him know that his copy was indeed alive and breathing. It's strange, really. He'd read up about cloning before, but they were only about animals. Cloning, part of the new age of technology. First comes animals, and now, humans. He paused as he brought out his house key. Should mankind really be messing around with cloning? While true his clone may look like him, but that's the only similarity between them. He doesn't have his personality, his abilities, or anything else really. When humans start dying off, then will the few scientists left alive think about cloning those who have died as a way of giving their grieving families peace? He shook his head. No. Mankind is stepping into unknown territory, a territory that should never be crossed. He had a feeling that cloning was just a start. Soon scientists will start believing they can bring the dead back to life. He really didn't want to think about that. With a sigh, he opened the door and was greeted with the worried face of his mother. There you are. I know you said you were going to be out late, but you still should have called. She scolded. He gave her a guilty smile. Sorry, the study session ran a little later than expected. She sighed. As long as you're okay. Anyway, are you Hun? Gry? There on her son's back was a familiar dark green hair that matched her son's perfectly. Not only that, but the sleeping face was also the same as her son. Unknown to her, she started shaking. Izuku, I don't really know what's going on either, he said. I ran into him on my way over here, and since he already knows about me, I decided to bring him here. He took his shoes off and hefted his clone on his back so he wouldn't fall. I'll set him down in my room, he told her, walking away to head to his room, while Inko stayed rooted in place. After a few minutes, she let out a shaky sigh. I knew, deep down, I knew you would do something like this. Izuku placed his clone on the bed and tucked him in. He was still trying to process all of this, trying to come up with some kind of answer, and so far, he still doesn't have any. Who would have access to his DNA map in the first place? The doctors? No, not them. Okay, think. There has to be someone that knows me on a personal level that could have access to my DNA map and clone me. But who? There was also the way his mother looked when she saw he was carrying his clone on his back. It was a look of surprise, but then became expected. Was he wrong, maybe? Does she know the person who cloned him? He shook his head. He'll just have to wait for his clone to wake up and ask some questions. NGH. He snapped his head in the direction of his bed and saw his clone waking up from his short cat nap. He watched as his clone sat up, rubbing some sleepiness out of his eyes before looking around his room with such a curious expression. Clone or not, It was kind of cute to see such an innocent and curious expression on his face. Sleep well? Izuku asked. His clone turns to him. Yes. It was a simple reply, but it was enough. Izuku sat on the bed, staring his clone right in the eye, and received a blank expression in return. Was that the only expression he could show? Such an empty look. Are you really my clone? Yes. Another simple reply. Closing his eyes, he took a deep breath, keeping his voice calm and even. Okay then, earlier you said that you came here all the way from Germany. Is that true? Yes. Unit number 1 was created in a secret laboratory in one of Germany's many research facilities, Unit number 1 explained, then was ordered to come here all the way to Japan to meet Big Brother. Ordered by who? A female researcher who was very kind to Unit number 1, just like the other 2 women. She is named Kiyama Harumi. Unit number 1 explains to Big Brother. Unit number 1 said, Kiyama Harumi? She is originally from Japan. However, she was called in from Germany to assist with the cloning project. Unit number 1 said. Izuku narrowed his eyes. So she was called in from Germany to work on a cloning project that involved me. Not only that, but she also told him to come to Japan so he could meet me? Was she trying to protect him? Before he could ask another question, a knock on the door interrupted them. Izuku, dinner's ready. His mother called out. Ah, okay. He got up from the bed. Come on. Unit number 1 tilts his head. Where are we going? To eat, obviously. Izuku snorts lightly as he grabs his clone's wrist gently and drags him out of the bed. While he might not have all of the answers now, he will get them eventually. Maybe his mother knows something. Inko blinks. Izuku deadpants. Unit number 1 stares at the food before him before poking it with his chopsticks, then placing the meat in his mouth. At first glance, it appears the dish does not look edible. However, once eaten, the flavor of the food assaults my taste buds. For example, the rice isn't good when eaten alone, but when eating together with the deep-fried pork cutlet, egg, vegetables, and condiments, it complements the dish completely, and the flavor is more enjoyable. He gives a thumbs up to Inko. Truly excellent. Reports Unit number 1, offering his sincerest praise to Mother. Inko's sweat dropped, but still gave him a nervous smile. Thank you? Izuku sighed. Whoever created him didn't bother to mention that you don't have to go into specific detail when it comes to everyday things. So, Izuku tells me you're from Germany? Inko said, hoping to have a conversation. Yes, you are correct. Unit number 1 confirmed. Inko hesitated but soon spoke again. Do you have a name? Unit number 1. Unit number 1 replies. Both Inko and Izuku frowned. So the person who created him didn't even bother to give him a name. That simply won't do. Inko said. What do you mean? Unit number 1 asked, tilting his head slightly. Izuku decided to elaborate. She means your name. We can't call you Unit number 1, and you shouldn't refer to yourself in that way either. Unit number 1 blinks. I see. Then is Big Brother stating he will name me then? Izuku blinked as he turns to his mother, who also stares at him. I guess so. Then, I wait to hear my new name. Unit number 1 says, sitting at the table eagerly waiting for Izuku to name him. Wait now. Damn, just what the hell kind of name was he going to give him? He didn't just want to give him any other name that will do. It had to be special somehow. Then it hit him like a lightning bolt, but not like his own. Ren. Midoriya Ren. Izuku says. Unknown to him, his mother flinched slightly when he said the name. Unit number 1, who was now known as Ren, noticed it, but said nothing. Ren. Ren said his new name with a soft expression, showing a faint smile. I think that name suits me, Big Brother. Izuku smiled. I think so too. What about you, Mom? Inko gave a sad smile. Yes, I think it suits him as well. He narrowed his eyes slightly at the sad look on his mother's face, but decided not to say anything about it right now because she looked so upset. There's still part of him that wanted to ask if she knew something about his clone that she wasn't telling, but didn't push the issue. After finishing dinner, both boys washed up and got ready for bed. Since Izuku didn't have a spare mattress or anything for Ren to sleep on, they decided to just share the same bed with each other. Needless to say, Ren wasn't complaining about the arrangement. This is quite comfortable, says Ren as he snuggles close to Big Brother. Ren said, facing Izuku as he snuggled into his pillow. Izuku's lip twitched. Good to know. Didn't you sleep in a bed while you were in Germany? It was an innocent question, but he wanted to know how he was treated. Rin answered the question, not originally. At first, I slept within an incubator to make sure my growth was stabilized and getting the necessary nutrients before I was let out, and slept in a bed, Rin says, explaining to Big Brother. Incubator, huh? So he slept within an incubator, then was given nutrients the body needs to grow up healthy. But that's not to say they didn't pump him with anything else while he was in there. After I was finished with combat training, Rin said, continuing, I was given my own room, just like the others. There in the middle of the room lay a single bed with white sheets, surrounded by white walls. It was a cold room that lacked any sort of warmth. Ren, sometimes I have dreams. In my dreams, I was surrounded by darkness, but it was warm. And in that darkness, I was there with someone else. That person was holding my hand and wouldn't let go. Rin smiled as he described his dream. It was pleasant. Izuku said nothing as he listened to his clone describe his dream with such fondness that it made his heart clench. While Rin may be his clone, he seemed much more human than everybody else. Get some sleep. We'll talk more tomorrow, Izuku said, rubbing his clone's head. Rin's eyes slowly closed. Then, Rin will sleep now, he said, closing his eyes finally. When Izuku saw that Rin was asleep, he sighed. He still had many more questions to ask, but Rin looked exhausted to keep going through any more interrogation right now. As he closed his eyes himself, he opened right back up quickly and thought back to what Rin said. I was given my own room, just like the others. Slowly, he brought his eyes back towards Rin. Others. The machine made a sound, signaling that it was done fulfilling its task as it released the individual that was cased within it. Good morning. Do you know what that word means? Ochaco questioned. The individual opened their eyes and responded, a routine greeting that is used to express good wishes to someone. Serial Unit Number 1 affirms calmly. Unit Number 1 said as he sat up in the machine. Ochaco brought out some medical clothes. Here, you can wear this for now. She handed it to him. He took them without saying a word, and Kiyomi meanwhile looked away as he changed into them. All this nudity is making me uncomfortable, Kiyomi said, sounding embarrassed. Really? Ochaco raised a brow. It's just the naked body of a child. I'd hardly call it appealing. That's not the point, Kiyomi protested. Is that so? Ochaco questions dryly. Meanwhile, Unit Number 1 had just finished putting the clothes on as he stared blankly at the women. So he was created in Germany? Shinso asked just to be sure. Izuku took a sip from his drink. It was currently lunchtime and the two boys were at their normal spot, which was the rooftop. Yeah, he told us that he was created inside an incubator before waking up and taking combat training. Shinso just finished his drink before speaking. I hate to say this without sounding paranoid, but it looks like he was created from some secret government lab. I was thinking the same thing last night, Izuku told him. So how did he end up all the way here in Japan? Shinso asked, his tone full of curiosity. Apparently, one of the female researchers there helped him escape and told him to find me, he said. He still needed to look up her name and find out more about the woman that helped Rin. You think she came here with him? Shinso wondered. I don't really know, and Rin doesn't seem to know either. Rin? That's what I decided to call him. I can't keep letting him call himself Unit Number 1, Izuku said. I'm still trying to figure out how someone in Germany got your DNA, Shinso said, still not understanding how some unknown person could clone his friend. Izuku got quiet for a while. I think my mom might know who. Shinso gave him a curious look. What makes you say that? Because when I came home with Rin on my back, her expression went from shock to realization in a split second, he said, recalling how his mother looked the first time she saw Rin. Did she tell you who? He shook his head. No, and I didn't have it in me to ask for answers either. I'll try and ask her when I get home, but I won't be expecting much. I gotta say, it's kind of interesting you named him Rin. Did you always have that name in mind or something? Shinso asked, curiously. That was a good question. There was something about that name in the back of his mind that was special. Like he already knew it from a long time ago, but that's not possible. It's been in the back of my mind, actually. I don't really know where it came from, actually, he said. Shinso decided to change the subject. By the way, Hatsum asked me to tell you about what's been going on with Black Arachnid. That got Izuku's attention. What happened? I didn't watch the news last night. Me neither, but Hatsum managed to get some information, Shinso said. The lower members were all arrested and charged with minor crimes, like robbery, breaking and entering, and other petty crimes. Go and the others? Izuku pressed. Shinso sighed. Good news about Akihisa. He's been put on death row for all of the deaths he's committed way before he was with Black Arachnid. Hatsum managed to gather some evidence and send it in anonymously. She even managed to make the source untraceable. The power of Hatsum, Izuku stated. Anyway, thanks to that he'll be on death row until they schedule an execution date for him. But according to Hatsum, the police force are trying to get it done as soon as possible. Shinso said. Neither boys cared all that much about that psychotic flame user. Flame users already get a bad reception already, and Akihisa wasn't really helping with his lust for killing. What a mess. But then again, it wasn't their problem. What about Hina? She was sentenced to 20 years in prison due to the body count she racked up when she killed all those people in the 2 buildings she brought down with just a wave of her hand. Shinso explained. That made sense. He remembered hearing a report a while back about how 2 office buildings suddenly collapsed due to some unexplained earthquake, but that wasn't the truth. The real truth was that a Quirk user with a powerful earth ability caused the buildings to collapse on purpose, killing everyone inside. The police force knew it was an earth Quirk user. They just didn't have any suspects at the time, but the case never went cold though, because they were still looking. Not to mention the families were adamant they keep searching for the killer. Now that they know it was a member of Black Arachnid, they were planning on making her have a long prison sentence. And go? Izuku wanted to know the fate of the Black Arachnid's leader. Shinso saw the look on his face and smiled. He confessed. Wait, what? He confessed? Yeah, Hatsum said he asked to talk to Naomasa and tell him everything about Black Arachnid and why it was formed in the first place. Shinso explained. Hatsum told me about Naomasa's quirk, and he stated Go wasn't lying when he confessed everything, even about his brother. It was still hard to swallow about the fact that Endeavor killed another human being without any sort of hesitation. A part of him hoped that Go's brother's spirit haunted him until his last dying breath. What made Go decide to confess everything? That was a most curious question. Shinso smiled. That Naomasa guy asked the same thing. Want to know what Go said? Izuku's impatient face gave him his answer. Shinso looked up at the clear blue sky. He said, I finally got some sense knocked into me. Izuku's eyes widened slightly before he let out a huff, before he also turned his attention towards the sky. Do you know what his sentence is? 25 to life. He sighed with a shrug of his shoulders. Not like they were going to let him off easy just because he confessed about everything, but something told him Go wasn't complaining about the sentence. For some reason, he pictured the man was in his cell with a smile on his face about the whole thing, a smile of content. That wasn't actually the sentence they wanted to give him, Shinso said. They wanted to give him life in prison, but I guess that Naomasa guy saw he was truly repentant about everything he did in Black Arachnid and decided on a lighter sentence. Makes sense. Is it true about what he said about his brother being burned alive by Endeavor? Shinso was almost hesitant to ask. Izuku sighed, closing his eyes. Yeah, it is. He wouldn't lie about something like that, not with all that hatred in his tone. I'm guessing another reason they didn't give him life in prison was because of the lack of fans Endeavor has in the police force. Though they don't show it, it's obvious they don't really like the man all that much, and the reason he knows this is because every time he watches the man on TV doing an interview, he could plainly see their dirty looks directed at the flaming menace. The guy's a monster, Shinso said. Izuku agreed that he is. He then took out his cell phone. I should call Ochaco and tell her about what happened. Shinso raised a brow. Oh yeah? Hatsum told me about her. She's your girlfriend, right? If Izuku were his old self, he would have flustered and started yammering like he used to, but now? He simply smiled and put the phone up to his ear. Soon, hopefully. Shinso blinked, then smirked. Good luck. I'm home, Izuku announced, sounding tired. Footsteps got his attention as he looked up and saw it was Rin walking towards him wearing oven mitts. Welcome home, says Rin as he greets big brother properly. Rin greeted. Izuku stared at him blankly, not sure what to say, but ultimately spoke. Why? Are you wearing oven mitts? Rin blinked as if not understanding why him wearing oven mitts was a problem. To my understanding, oven mitts are needed for cooking certain foods that require to be put in the oven, states Rin as he explains the obvious to Big Brother. No, never mind, it's not important. Izuku said, deciding to ignore it. Is Mom home? Yes, she is. Rin confirmed. Okay, Izuku said as he took out a small box that caught Rin's attention. I got this for you. He opened the box, revealing a hairpin. What is that object? Rin questions. A hairpin, Izuku said simply. I know it's not something guys wear, but I saw this in the store and thought it would look good on you. He clipped the hairpin on the right side of Rin's head. The hairpin had a lightning bolt pattern on it, as the hairpin itself was green. Rin gently touched the hairpin as his lips parted a little. Izuku watched him carefully. Do you not like it? The clone shook his head. No, it's fine. I will treasure this greatly, Big Brother. Thank you. He smiled. Izuku was surprised by the smile, having not expected it, but was glad his clone liked the gift. Let's go eat, he said. Yes. Inko heard the conversation while she was in the kitchen and smiled to herself. As soon as she got home and was greeted by the clone, she initially felt a little uncomfortable, but after spending time with him, she felt better about it. Rin was polite, helpful, and only showed interest in experiencing what it was like to be with a real family. A frown then appeared on her face as she remembered his origins. While true Rin was created by the person she will never trust again, she wanted to know what the boy did while he was in Germany. With a sigh, she placed one of the dried dishes away. Izuku needs to know about everything. She couldn't afford to keep it hidden any longer, especially with the arrival of Rin. Mom, Izuku called out to her. She put on a smile as she turned to face him. Welcome home. Oh, Rin, what a nice accessory you have there. Big Brother got it for me as a present, says Rin. Rin said. Inko smiled and rubbed his head. I'm glad you like it. Don't worry, because Mom will get you something nice, too. Rin's eyes showed eagerness at the thought of getting a present from Inko. The more he stayed here with the Midoriyas, the more emotion he showed, even if it was a little bit. Izuku didn't mind having Rin here, but there was still some questions that needed to be answered. Like who created him in the first place? Rin, I didn't get to ask you yesterday, but do you have a quirk? Inko asked. Rin addressed her. I do not have a quirk, for I am like Big Brother, says Rin, explaining to Mother. Both Inko and Izuku froze in their seats as Rin just basically said he wasn't a quirk user, but was instead like Izuku. Meaning, Rin, are you an Esper? Izuku said slowly. Yes, I am, Rin confirms. Rin said. Izuku's eyes narrowed. So he's an Esper and not a quirk user. The person who created him managed to make a clone of me that's also an Esper. Inko meanwhile swallowed. What's your ability? I have more than one ability, Rin explains. Rin said. Izuku was curious about that. How many abilities do you have? As I have stated before, I am like Big Brother. I am an Esper, and I have 2 abilities like Big Brother, Rin clarifies. Rin explained. He has 2 abilities like me? Izuku thought. What are they? Inko asked carefully. Rin brought up his hand and showed green energy in the palm of his hands. This is my first ability. It is classified as electron manipulation. I am able to forcefully control electrons in the state of an electron, where it is both particle and wave. When I strike other objects, the electrons are unable to react either as particle or a wave because of their state. Izuku had to agree on one thing. Having that ability is useful, not to mention frightening. But then again, he had no room to talk with his 2 destructive Esper abilities. Rin put his hand down. My other ability is dark matter manipulation. This ability allows me to create and control an unknown material that I am able to use to attack with. Izuku didn't know what to say. His clone had 2 powerful abilities that he could use to declare war with the entire country of Japan if he wanted to. Just who the hell created him in the first place? And for what purpose was he created for? Did he create Rin for the sole purpose of being used as a weapon or something else? In any case, he's glad to have Rin here with them. Well, Rin, those are some interesting abilities you have there. Inko forced out. Indeed. I have trained very hard to control both abilities, as I'm sure Big Brother has as well, Rin says. Rin said. Inko's forced smile never left her face. That's good. Rin sees right through her forced smile. Mother, are you all right? Rin asks in obvious concern. Inko tries to make her smile seem less forced, but it doesn't work. I'm okay, sweetie. Don't worry about me. Rin does not look convinced, but decides not to force the woman. Izuku, meanwhile, decides to have some more questions answered. Run. Yes? Izuku stared into those eyes and thought about not asking the question at all, but pressed on. Who's your creator? Rin gave him a blank stare. ZX89 WQTY 7365924. What? Was Izuku's response. Just what the hell was that all about? Was that supposed to be code for something? Looking over at his mom, he noticed she looked just as equally confused. Rin seeks password confirmation. Rin said. Password confirmation? Izuku was still confused. Rin was still staring at him. Your inability to answer means that I cannot give you information that is classified, big brother. Izuku narrowed his eyes. I get it. Whoever created him must have made a password that can't be accessed to anyone, except for those directly involved with his creation. With those thoughts, he decided to ask another question. Can you tell me what the purpose of your creation is? That is confidential. Rin answers. Izuku rubs his temples, trying to soothe his already forming headache. Right, of course it is. Inko give her son a sympathetic smile. It's all right. We don't have to know the person who created you. And you don't have to tell us if you don't wanna, okay? Rin nods his head. And with that, dinner was over and both boys retreated into their room for some needed sleep. Well, one of them anyway. Izuku was wide awake as he stared down at his clone's sleeping form. It amazed him how peaceful Rin looked when sleeping and wondered if he would eventually be more open the more time he spends with them. Slowly, he got out of bed and went to the bathroom with his cell phone in hand and dialed Hatsum's number. Hopefully, she wasn't asleep already. He hears the other line click. Izuku. Hatsum's exited voice was clear as day. Yeah, she's wide awake. Of course she was. This is Hatsum he's talking about. Hey, Hatsum. Sorry for calling you so late, but I need you to look something else up for me, if that's okay? Izuku asked. Of course. I live to serve. So what can I help you with? I need you to write this down. Do you have a pen and paper on hand? He asked. Naturally. Good. Here's what I want you to write down. He said seriously, ZX89WQDY 7365924. Did you get all that? Yep, got it. This is an interesting code. I'm guessing this has something to do with your clone? Yeah. When I tried to ask the name of the person who created him, he started babbling off that code I gave you and asked for a password. Izuku confirms, whoever created him must be someone so top secret that he didn't want anyone to know who he is. That's what it looks like to me, too. Hold on. I just entered the code, and I'm about to send you what I found. He breathes a sigh filled with relief. Thanks, Hatsum. I'll be your next guinea pig for one of your babies. Really? That's good to hear, because I have a good baby that has your name on it. Try and see if you can convince Shinso to take part, too. His lip twitched at the thought of Shinso being forced to take part in Hatsum's baby display, as she calls it. I'll see what I can do. Get some sleep, Hatsum, he said. Roger. He hung up the phone and saw the text Hatsum sent him and opened the file attached to the text. As he opened it, though, he felt something in his gut churn when he read what was on the file. Project Dioscuri. There in bold letters was the name of the project. The project that no doubt Rin was a part of, and the name of it, Project Dioscuri? Like the twin brothers in Greek and Roman mythology? Why the hell would someone name the project Dioscuri of all things? He shook his head. No, that's not important right now. Right now he needs to know who was in charge of it. He scrolled down and read the rest of the report. As quirks continue to baffle us in the science community, we have decided to see what the capabilities each quirk has to offer. Much to our disappointment, however, we produced lackluster results. When some individuals started showing dual quirks, we decided to test the capabilities and found much better results than our previous attempt. However, even though we produced better results, it's not what we were looking for, so we decided on another method. The method of using twins. Twins with powerful quirks are a rarity within our society, and even if they are somehow born with powerful quirks that could be useful, the probability of them agreeing to participate in the project is 0%. Therefore, we decided to wait until a suitable test subject was found that would soon be giving birth to twin children. Izuku gripped his phone slightly. Test subject? They were waiting for a pregnant woman to give birth to twins and use them for some sick experiment. As we waited for suitable candidates, we realized that getting them to cooperate with the project would not be in our favor. That is why it was decided unanimously that head researcher Midoriya Hisashi's wife Midoriya Inko would become the test subject for Project Dioscuri. It felt like something was gripping his chest hard, making him unable to breathe. His own father, he was the one to suggest this damn project in the first place. And used his mother, his own wife, as a test subject? He gripped his phone tightly as he grit his teeth in barely concealed rage. Did his mother know and allow herself to participate in this? No, his mother would never have agreed to this. Taking a deep, shaking breath, he kept reading. For months, Dr. Midoriya watched and observed his wife as she started showing signs of pregnancy. It was then confirmed that she would indeed be having twin boys, whose names were already picked out by both parents. Their names are Midoriya Izuku and Midoriya Rin. Izuku's breath hitched at the mention of him being a twin. He didn't know that. But wait, if he was a twin then, what happened to his brother? His eyes slowly moved towards the cracked door as he saw his clone still sleeping. That's why the name Run sounded so familiar to him. It was the name his twin brother would have carried. Looking away, he went back to reading. Midoriya Inko's due date soon approached, but she was soon rushed to the hospital due to some complications with the two unborn children. Once arriving at the hospital, the doctors there decided to do an emergency C-section as to not lose one of the subjects. While the older twin Midoriya Izuku was classified as a healthy baby boy, his younger brother, however, was in a critical state and needed the use of a machine to keep the newborn breathing. Izuku felt a sharp pain in his chest. His twin brother was hooked up to a machine to keep him alive? Then what happened? He continued on reading to find out. We waited patiently for the younger twin's condition to improve, but unfortunately the boy died at the age of 2 while still hooked up to the machine that was keeping him alive. Izuku felt his eyes leak slightly, but he shook his head and kept reading on. He'll mourn for his dead brother after he finished reading this. While unfortunate the younger twin could not be saved, the project was still scheduled to continue. What? Izuku glared at his phone. During a disguised family trip to Germany when the test subject Midoriya Izuku was only 3 years old, Dr. Midoriya decided to use his son as part of an experiment to clone him and use a clone that would develop powers to be used in place of the deceased Midoriya Rin. That son of a bitch. So that's how Rin was created. His own father experimented on him and got his DNA map. However, before the experiment could take place, Midoriya Inko along with her parents destroyed the facility, escaping with Midoriya Izuku and thus preventing any enhancements that were scheduled for the child to take place. He leaned back against the closed bathroom door. So, Grandma and Grandpa know about it too, huh? And Mom got me out of there before they could do anything. That explains everything. And it does explain everything. It explains why his mother told him his father was forbidden from seeing him ever again. And this is the reason why. He kept reading on. As unfortunate as it was to have lost the test subject, all was not lost, for we still had the DNA map and used it to produce a clone that would serve as the other twin and enhance its capabilities. Unfortunately, all of the clones proved to be useless, for they were all classified as quirkless and showed no signs of manifesting a quirk. It was then decided they would terminate it. Terminated? Izuku growled, bastards. Before the termination could commence, one of the clones started producing small electrical sparks from its fingertips. Naturally, we were baffled by this, but not Dr. Midoriya, who theorized that it had to be another source of power coming from the clone. We studied this and found out why. For the reason the clone did not manifest a quirk was because it was an Esper. So my clones are Espers too, then, he said, as he kept reading. Naturally, we were excited at the prospect of having the clone manifest an Esper ability rather than a quirk. As we continued our experimentation, it became a disappointment to discover that the clone's Esper abilities were not becoming of a higher level as we had hoped. It was decided that the clones would not be used for Project Dioscuri. Izuku breathed a sigh of relief, but then frowned. They didn't kill them, did they? He kept reading to make sure. Another setback was expected, but as we were unable to use the clones for the project, it became a rather troublesome setback, but luckily Dr. Midoriya thought of another solution. I'm not looking forward to knowing what it is. Izuku muttered as he kept on reading. He suggested using the deceased body of Midoriya Ruin, which he kept preserved without his wife's knowledge, and using the body's hair follicle to create a clone that would be able to take part in Project Dioscuri. A look of disgust appeared on Izuku's face. How dare! He grit his teeth, using the dead body of my brother. He shook his head. No calm he were to get upset, and suddenly use his ability inside the house, it'll disturb his mom, and run. We used a fertilized egg and used a cell that was extracted from the original Midoriya Ren's hair follicle. Prior to this, we obtained the necessary genetic sequence pattern sample and successfully registered Midoriya Ren's DNA map. Using a cocktail of growth hormones to speed up the process, we had successfully created a subject that was physically identical to Midoriya Ruin in just 14 days. We also managed to make sure the clone was the same age as Midoriya Izuku, which is 3 years old. As the clone awoke for the first time within the incubator, we studied the subject to see if it would manifest either a quirk or an Esper ability. We were not disappointed when in just 12 days the clone successfully manifested not one, but 2 Esper abilities that were impressive. Izuku didn't know how much more of this he could take, but he had to keep reading. Combat training immediately started when the clone turned 4 years old. The subject took to the training well and did not complain. To make sure it was well adverse in hand-to-hand combat, the subject was instructed to fight the clones of Midoriya Izuku. We had already enhanced both the clones and the subject, so we were impressed the combat session. At first, the subject believed it was a clone of the original Midoriya Izuku, due to gaining self-awareness it received when we used a drug to help create basic information within the brain. At the insistence of Dr. Midoriya, we allowed the subject, as well as the lower researchers within the facility, to believe such a thing, for only the higher-level researchers were allowed to know. So not all of the researchers knew that Rin wasn't really my clone, but a clone of my deceased brother. Izuku was still enraged by the fact that his father would dare disrespect the dead in the way he did. As we progressed further, we faced another setback. Due to the growth hormones that were used to stimulate the subject's growth, the subject fell ill. To make sure the subject was not lost after we finally succeeded in creating a perfect subject for Project Dioscuri, we placed the subject back within the incubator and decided to balance out the growth hormones we originally used. There we watched as the clone began to grow normally, and its health began to show improvement. Izuku narrowed his eyes, using growth hormones to stimulate his growth? From what I can tell, he does look healthy, but it's best to keep an eye on him, just to be sure. While waiting for the right time to awaken the clone, we decided to go over the project to make sure its purpose was not forgotten. The purpose for this project is to create a pair of twins that are powerful enough to touch the territory of God, and use the subjects to become the link between humanity and God. The twins were to become humanity's very own Castor and Pollux, 2 powerful twins within Greek and Roman mythology. Once succeeded in the twins becoming the link between humanity and God, it would allow the twins themselves to not only reach and touch the territory of God, but to also become the new gods that would be used by humanity. He couldn't believe this. Touch the territory of God. Become a link between humanity and God. Twin gods. This is it. This is what they were after? Creating twin gods to be used by humanity? Have they lost their minds? He needed to finish reading this, and soon. All thanks go to Dr. Midoriya for suggesting such a project and making sure that it would go through despite some minor setbacks. The project is currently ongoing. He saw that was the end of the report and shut his phone off and slid down to the bathroom floor. Even if he wished this was all a dream, not even if he could dream something like this up, trying to create their very own Castor and Pollux? Do those scientists not realize that they are not only half-brothers, not to mention of them was mortal, while the other one was an immortal divine son? For researchers with high intelligence, these people were idiots when it comes to looking up actual facts when it comes to mythology. Standing up slowly, he used the bathroom sink to help him up from the floor. Both hands were on either side of the bathroom sink, and took deep breaths as he tried to keep himself from throwing up. It was working, thankfully. All of this, he didn't know what to say. What could he say? To his mother? He didn't know. But more importantly, how was he supposed to treat Rin now? He wasn't an actual clone of him, but of his younger brother who only lived to be 2 years old before he finally couldn't hang on anymore and passed on. He brought a hand to his chest and felt his heart clench. A younger brother. Someone who would have the face as him. Someone who would probably want to be a hero just like him, and someone who would be there for him. His other half. A half that he lost and never once got to see. He clenched his shirt. No. He finally left the bathroom and went back to his room and just stared at his younger brother's clone. As despicable as it is to even think about cloning the dead, I do feel grateful that he's here with me. Bringing his hand up, he caressed his brother's hair, letting his fingers move through his hair, and felt just how soft it was. It's still hard to believe he's an actual clone of my deceased brother, but he thinks he's my clone instead. And no one at the research facility he originally stayed at told him otherwise. If things had been different, if his younger brother hadn't died at the age of 2, then… Big brother. Hearing Ren's voice made him halt all movement as he stared into those green eyes that showed curiosity and concern. Ren sat up. What is wrong? Ren asked in concern. Izuku didn't say anything and simply hugged the clone of his deceased younger brother. Ren meanwhile blinked, clearly baffled by the sudden affection, but returned the hug. Izuku held Ren close to him and made a decision. Clone or not, you're still my brother. So from now on, he didn't realize he said the next words out loud, stay by my side. Ren's mouth parted slightly, but responded to the request, I will. Whether the boys knew it or not, in that moment they truly did resemble the brothers Castor and Pollux. What the hell? Izuku didn't really blame Shinso because he thought the same thing when he first read it. He sent the same file to Hatsum, and she had a few things to say about it herself, which involved using one of her babies on the Hisashi. The only person he hadn't sent it to yet was Ochaco, and that's only because deep down he was afraid of what she might say. Shinso put his phone away with a stunned expression. Just what the hell did I just read? Twin gods. They expect you two to be able to reach god-like powers and be used as weapons by humanity? The hell? What makes me sick about all of this is the fact that my own father not only suggested this project, but took part in it and used my mom as a test subject. Izuku said with barely restrained cold fury. Can't say I blame you, Shinso said, agreeing with him. Human cloning on not only you, but your dead twin too? Last time I checked, human cloning was illegal. They know it's illegal, and they don't care, Izuku stated. Clearly, Shinso said, still a little disturbed by what he read. Did you tell your mom what you found out? Like I could, Izuku huffed uncomfortably. I couldn't even look her in the eye this morning. It was true. As soon as he woke up, he avoided all eye contact with her and knew he made her worry by doing that. But he just couldn't face her with what he found out right now. Not yet. Damn. So, what now? Shinso asked. That was a good question. What should he do now? Well, that was simple. Those guys won't give up trying to get us both, Izuku said seriously. Rin told me one of the female researchers helped him escape the facility he was being held at and smuggled him here to Japan. You think they'd be dumb enough to try and kidnap you too with as many pro-heroes this country has? Shinso knew they would try. Persistent people were dangerous. They will. I can feel it. He didn't know when they were going to act, but he would be on his guard at all times. He'll be damned if they try to take him and run away from their home. Shinso sighed. Looks like I'll be helping you out in dealing with them. Izuku didn't want Shinso to get involved. Not in this. Black Arachnid was one thing. But these are guys that would go to lengths to get what they want, meaning they would probably hire mercenaries from Germany or the Yakuza that reside in Japan. Hell, even outside countries who found out about the project would try to kidnap them. What a mess. I don't want you to get involved in this because it probably won't just be Germany coming after us, but other countries might want to get in on this, too. Izuku told him. That's fine, Shinso said, not at all scared of the prospect of other countries getting involved. You can't shoulder something like this all by yourself, even if you think you can. That's true. He was basically going to war with Germany on the down low and any other country that would soon get in on the hunt. He needed all the help he could get. With a resigned sigh, he smiled. You're right. Thanks, Shinso. Anytime. The boy smiled. The underworld can rear its ugly head anywhere and anytime. So when Germany finally made the first move, he wasn't surprised. They had gotten the intel from some underground researcher in Germany who wanted to keep the details top secret, but did tell them what their targets looked like. While they didn't know where the targets lived or go to school, they did manage to spot him walking with another boy on their way to the arcade and simply waited. About an hour later, they came out and headed right down the alley where one of them gave pursuit so as not to lose them. They were still trying to figure out how someone in Germany knew about them when they always keep a low profile, but didn't think about it for very long as this was a job. While they agreed to capture the targets and bring them to their client, that was an obvious lie. Their leader had other plans. The plan was to capture the targets, kill the client, and use the two boys they were ordered to kidnap for experimental purposes like for what they do with the little girl. One of the pursuers soon realized he lost them and began searching frantically. Damn. You know, a voice from behind him said as footsteps were heard from the dark alley. For somebody who's supposed to be tailing us, you weren't exactly quiet. The man turned around and saw it was one of the boys he was following, but it was the one with the blue hair. Since you can't even do something as simple as following someone without making any noise, guess that means you really suck at your job, doesn't it? Shinso taunted. You arrogant little dash. His eyes suddenly became white and had a blank face. Shinso's quirk was now active. Izuku soon emerged from the dark alley. I don't recognize clothing from any well-known Yakuza organizations. It was true. The man was young, but young enough to be in his early to mid-20s. His hair was light with bangs that cover the right side of his face. His eyes have prominent dark circles around them, and he wears a beak-shaped mask while sporting a white shirt, tie, and black pants. Then let's find out who he works for, Shinso suggested. You, what's your name? Setsuno Toya. Setsuno answered dully. What organization do you belong to? Shaiha Saikai, 8 Precepts. Izuku narrowed his eyes. I haven't heard of them before. Me either. Think these guys work in the shadows so they aren't well known? Shinso wondered. Probably. Let's see what other information you have to offer us, Shinso said to the still brainwashed man. How many members are in your organization? There are 8 of us. Who's the boss? Chisaki Kai, better known as Overhaul. He sounds like he'll be trouble. Izuku said. Yep. Who else is higher up in the organization besides your boss? Chronostasis, the boss's assistant. Mimic, the boss's general manager. These guys are not only dangerous, but sound like they'll be a pain to deal with. Germany chose well. Izuku nodded to Shinso, who got the message. Who hired you to follow us? An underground research facility in Germany. We were ordered to find and capture the targets, Midoriya, Izuku, and Run, but the boss decided to keep them for himself to harvest their abilities like he does with Eri. Izuku and Shinso looked at each other. Eri, who is that? Who is Eri? She's a little girl who is being experimented on by the boss so he can harvest her quirk to make some kind of drug that affects quirks. Izuku clenched his fists in anger. Experimenting on a little girl? Okay, these guys need to be dealt with, and now. He took a deep breath and looked at Shinso. Ask him what their boss's quirk is. Shinso nodded. What is your boss's quirk? Overhaul. It's an emitter's quirk that needs contact in order for its effect to take place. It lets him disassemble and reassemble anything he makes contact with. Sounds like a nasty quirk, Izuku said. No kidding. Okay, last question. Where is your base located? Underground. Not very helpful, Shinso grumbled. No, that should be enough for us to give to Hatsum. We'll tell her what to look for, and if she spots someone who's wearing the same beak like this guy, then we'll know he's either the leader or another underling. She should be able to find out something. She always does, Izuku said as he viciously knocked the guy out and left him there on the ground. I'll deal with the partner, Shinso volunteered. Got it. As they began walking out of the alley, Izuku couldn't get that girl's name out of his head. Eri. If they were going to take the base down, if Hatsum is indeed able to find it, then he'll have to get her out of there and fast. We'll get her out. Izuku stared at Shinso. How did you? I can just tell. The greeniat huffed. Yeah, you can. He was going to have to bring Rin along, too. His Esper abilities would really come in handy, but the problem is, would he agree? I will participate in the operation, says Rin, not taking no for an answer. Rin said. Izuku blinked. Okay then. Well, it looks like Rin has no problem with it. That's good. He thinks. I found it, Hatsum declared victoriously. Shinso, who making sure his darts were in good shape, looked over at her quickly. That was fast. It took you only 2 days to find their base? Nah, compared to how I found the Black Arachnid's base, this was my slowest time ever. Anyway, I managed to find it because their leader overhaul was in an alley where there's a hidden security camera in place selling the drug known as Trigger. Hatsum explained. I've heard about that drug, Izuku said. Rumor has it that it's been going around through the underworld, but no one knew who to go to exactly to get their hands on it. I would appear they do now, Rin says, adding his own 2 cents to the conversation. Rin said, Bingo. Now I kept track of him after he made the deal through other security cameras in the area, Hatsum explained. And after tracking him for about an hour, I finally found where their base is. That guy you interrogated was right. It really is underground. Izuku got up from his chair. Guess that's that. We now know where their base is, so we need to plan this carefully. Agreed. What would be the appropriate course of action then, big brother? Rin asked. Izuku let out a small smirk. Here's what we'll do. Location: underground base of the Shai Hasaikai, 8 precepts. Overhaul was irritated, and that was never a good sign. It's rare that the man gets angry or irritated about anything, but this has him very irritated. Not even distributing the drug Trigger made him feel better. The reason for his irritation? The damn job they got from some underground research facility in Germany. The job sounded simple. Retrieve the twins Midoriya, Izuku, and Rin and give them over to them without giving them a reason why. So since they weren't giving them all of the information that they wanted, he decided to keep the twins for himself and harvest their abilities like he does with Eri. Speaking of the brat, she tried to resist her daily experiment again today, which prompted him to knock her out by injecting her with a sleeping drug in order for her to cooperate. Stubborn brat. Boss. Setsuno called out to the man. What? Setsuno showed no fear outwardly, but inwardly he was afraid of what his boss might do once he tells him about what happened when he was tracking one of the twins. We lost the target when he went inside an alleyway with another boy. Overhaul was not amused, as to be expected. Continue searching for them, he ordered coldly. Why yes, boss. Setsuno got the hell out of there quickly to continue his search for the 2 boys he was stalking earlier today. He still couldn't remember what happened after he went into the alley, but decided to forget about it, finding it no longer important. Overhaul decided to find chronostasis and see how much progress he was making with the new drug he was creating thanks to Eri blood. As soon as he left, the cameras started showing static before going back to normal, showing nothing on the camera, except it was tampered with. Izuku touched the pad key outside and used his electrokinesis to tamper with it, allowing him to unlock the door. With a nod to both Shinso and Rin, they ran in, while at the same time making sure to still be quiet. When they heard someone walking down the hall from the corner, they hid within the shadows the walls made. They seem to do night patrols every night, despite knowing no one will be able to find their hideout, Rin said, keeping his voice low. It might be for the girl they're keeping prisoner here. Izuku frowned at the thought. They probably do these patrols to make sure she doesn't escape. Good thing you tampered with the cameras though, Shinso said. We would have been caught before we could even take one step inside this place. It's good that their security system involves electricity, Izuku said. Opening the pad Hatsum gave him to see the map layout of the place, security cameras, infrared sensors, and electronic locks. They've got everything you can think of. Heavy security for a Yakuza hideout, Shinso said. Yes, but considering they were hired in the first place, it is to be expected, Rin reminded. That's true. Izuku stared at the map and found 2 places. Okay, there are 2 possible places Eri might be. There's Lab 1 and Lab 2. So which one do you want to go to first? Shinso asked. Izuku closed the pad. We'll try the second lab first. If we find her there, then we can leave. But if she's in Lab 1, we'll do the same thing. Taking one last look around the corner, they slowly moved again, and Izuku once again brought out the pad, making sure to keep the lights dim so they wouldn't be found. Hatsum was outside on standby just in case things got bad and they needed her to cause a distraction. As they made their way to the path of Lab 2, they saw a door with the letter E on it. Guess that means she's in here, Izuku said as he hacked into the security pad on the girl's door and successfully unlocked it. Stay out here and keep watch. Shinso nodded. Got it. Understood, Rin said. With one last look at them, he opened the door quietly and walked in, but left the door open slightly. There before him as he walked in was a little girl with long white hair, scared and yet innocent red eyes, a yellow horn growing out of her forehead, and wearing a white dress, if you could even call it that. He also noticed she had bandages on her arms and legs. The moment she saw him, she scooted backwards out of fear. "It's okay," Izuku said kindly. "I'm not going to hurt you. Are you Eri?" He was down to her eye level, so he wouldn't scare her. She gave him a slow, yet fearful nod. "My name's Midoriya Izuku," Izuku introduced. "I came here to take you away from this place." Her eyes widened at the prospect of finally leaving this horrible place before looking down. But they'll catch me," she said sadly. It made his heart break seeing such a small child like her act like this. "No, they won't. I won't let them. We snuck in here without them noticing, and we can sneak out the same way." She looked up at him with a surprised look. "We?" He nodded. "My brother and friends are with me, too. They're strong." There was a spark of hope in her eyes, something she hadn't felt in a while. For a long time she prayed and hoped someone would save her and take her away. A guardian angel, and here he is. Her guardian angel, Izuku. He stuck his hand out to her slowly, ready to leave this place forever. She didn't even hesitate to take it. Finally, she was free. Shinso and Rin saw Izuku come out of the room, holding the girl in his arms. "Got her, let's go," he said. "Don't need to tell us twice," Shinso said, wanting to get out of here as fast as possible. "Rin agrees," Rin said. The three boys, plus one little girl, left the room, and Izuku closed the door, not wanting to leave it open for someone to find it open, and quickly deduced that Eri had left her room. "There's another lab here, too. Should we inform the police force about it as soon as we leave?" Shinso asked. "We'll have Hatsum send the data on it to them as well as this place's location. That should be good." Izuku wanted to badly use his abilities to trash this place, but he couldn't. They completed their mission, and that's all that matters. He'll deal with these guys next time. And there will be a next time. "You made it," Hatsum cheered. "Damn right we did," Shinso said with a sigh. "These guys don't mess around with security, but at least we got what we came for. Secure the young girl Eri and keep her safe. Mission accomplished," Rin said, giving a thumbs up for a job well done. Izuku leaned his back against the van Hatsum had gotten a while back. He didn't bother to ask her where she got it from because he was scared to know. Eri was still in his arms and passed out sleep, looking very peaceful, which was probably a feeling she had never felt before. "Did you send the information to the police force?" Izuku asked. "Yep. Told them this tip came in from anonymous. Can't be traced either." Hatsum grinned. Shinso gave her a blank stare. "Aren't you supposed to be an inventor?" I am. What's your point?" "Nothing." Rin decided to speak. "Since we have achieved our objective, shouldn't we be leaving now?" Rin asked curiously. "And we shall," Hatsum said, starting up the van. "Hang on." And with that she drove away like a madman, and Izuku made a mental note to never let her drive again. Back at the underground hideout, the night patrol was still walking around until he finally came across Eri's room. Opening the door, out of routine, he saw that she was gone. Panicking, he sounded the alarm that alerted everyone in the building, including Overhaul. This was not good. Overhaul came storming down the hallway with his assistant Chronostasis by his side as he stomped furiously down the hall. How the hell could she have just disappeared, and why didn't the damn security alarm go off? "Where is she?" he yelled furiously. One of the members addressed him nervously. "That's the thing, sir. We don't know." Overhaul looked like he was ready to use his quirk on the man. "What do you mean by that? How can she just disappear with the alarms on and working along with the security cameras?" "That's another strange thing, sir." Another member spoke. "The alarms were all off and the security cameras showed no one had broken in." Overhaul looked at the man. "What?" "We checked. Someone from the outside deactivated all alarms and hacked the security cameras to make it look like there was nothing wrong. We got the security cameras fixed now, but we still didn't see the intruders," the man reported. "Impossible. The security they got is top of the line. How the hell could someone have hacked into it like it was nothing? Do you believe it's possible our client from Germany are responsible for this?" Chronostasis wondered. "No," Overhaul said, having calmed down a little. They like to keep a low profile from what I understand. They would gain nothing from doing this, unless they found out about Aries' quirk, and I highly doubt that. I see, Chronostasis said, having to agree with that. Sir, we've got trouble. The police force are here, and they brought a squad. All Might is with them. Overhaul's eyes widened and he clenched his fists, while seething in anger. Whoever is responsible for this will pay. I'll let you go for now, Aerie, but know this. You will never be free. Mom, we're home. Inko got up from the kitchen chair and ran in the living room. Thank goodness. You told me you'd be out late, but He paused when she saw her son was holding a sleeping child in his arms. Izuku. Sorry, I'll tell you later, but right now I want to get her to bed, he said, but he wasn't done. Also, Mom, there's something I need to talk to you about in private. Inko heard the tone in her son's voice and simply nodded in understanding. Izuku and Run then brought the sleeping Eri in their room. Izuku tucked her in and Rin volunteered to watch over her while she slept so he and Inko could talk in private. While Rin was watching over Eri, Izuku and Inko were in the kitchen. The atmosphere between the two was thick, so thick in fact you could cut it with a knife. Izuku didn't know where to start, but he spoke up first. Mom. You don't have to say it. She cut him off. What? She took both of his hands in hers. When you were little and asked about your father, I was honestly terrified that you would want to see him, but I'm glad you let it go when I told you he couldn't see you anymore. Then you know about. She shook her head. I was in high school when we first met. I was a junior and he was a senior. The first time we met, it was love at first sight for both of us. I wanted to get to know him, and so did he. Back then, I was just a naive girl who was searching for love and found it in Hisashi, or so I thought. Mom. Squeezing his hands slightly, she continued, all three of us went to the same college. Me, Mitsuki, and your father. Freshman year, he already knew what he wanted to do. He wanted to be a researcher that studied quirks and how it affects the human body while at the same time wondering if quirks could evolve. So he was already doing research on quirks before suggesting that project, Izuku thought. After we graduated, the two of us decided to get engaged. Inko continued, it was the happiest moment of my life. I didn't realize he was doing something so awful behind my back, and I regret not listening to Mother when she told me about his future. That got Izuku's interest. What did Grandma say? His future was stained. Stained? Does she mean how his hands are stained with the blood of those that were experimented on? Izuku wondered. Inko took a deep breath as she found the courage to keep speaking. It was when I told him that I was pregnant that something in his eyes changed. He became obsessed with the gender and if I was having 1 or 2 babies. Izuku's fists tightened while still being held by his mother's. Her shoulders began to shake as tears welled up in her eyes. I was so devastated when Rin needed to be hooked up to that machine so it could breathe for him. I also regret not bringing you to go see him in the hospital. He was your brother. How could I do such a thing? Izuku's heart clenched seeing his mother's tearful face and removed his hands from underneath her and squeezed them gently. Don't blame yourself, Mom. Rin's condition wasn't your fault, and you didn't know what Hisashi was planning in the shadows. The important thing is I'm right here with you, Grandma, Grandpa, and Ochaco. I had all of you to keep me going through my childhood, and now I have 2 other friends to help me now too. You don't have to explain yourself, but as for him, I'll be the one to stop him. Inko didn't want her son to shoulder the burden of dealing with Hisashi, but if this is truly what he wants, then she won't interfere. Izuku, a soft and small voice called out to him, and both Midoriyas whipped their heads towards the kitchen entrance and saw Eri standing there along with Rin. Izuku got up and went over to her. What's wrong? Couldn't sleep? He asked, bending down in front of her. Eri nodded. You weren't there. He rubbed her head gently. Sorry, I had to talk to my mom about something very important. But Rin was there watching over you. It would appear she feels safer with you, big brother. Rin said. Eri looked back and forth at the two. Why do you look alike? Izuku smiled. It's because we're twins. Rin is my younger twin brother, and I'm glad he is. Rin's mouth parted a little, but he soon smiled. Rin feels the same. Izuku didn't lie. Rin was a clone of his younger brother, sure, but he was still his brother. And he will never let anyone, not even Hisashi, take Rin away from him. He won't let that happen. Rin, Can you take Eri back in the bedroom? I still need to talk to my mom about something. Izuku asked. That's all right, Izuku. Inko said. You can tell me in the morning. For now, all three of you should get some sleep. Izuku stood up. You sure? Positive. She smiled brightly. He smiled back. His mother had finally confessed to what she wanted to say for a long time. As he held Eri's hand and walked back to their bedroom, there was only one thought that was going through his mind. Send whoever you want. I won't let you have your way. As of right now, you are my enemy. Hisashi.